Hi,
Hey,
Tammy.
Nate. Oh, it's been a while. Couple weeks.
It has been a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Somebody went to the other side of the country, or maybe like 3/4 to the other side of the country last week, and we couldn't do a show.
You were too busy gambling.
No,
Oh.
not Vegas this time. I was in Colorado this time. Usually
yeah, that's
it's
right.
Vegas.
You were in Denver. You were just just south of me. So while you were in Denver having a good time, I was dealing with these little, they're called hinge sleeves, aluminum hinge sleeves in my Jeep
Yep.
Wrangler. This is what caused me not to be able to open up my door. So these are aluminum. The hinge pins are steel. When you mix aluminum and steel, it causes corrosion and they seize up. And you're really supposed to do maintenance on them. I never did. I didn't know. That's what people say. Anyway, those keyboard warriors, that's what they tell me. And so anyway, I replaced them with those hard plastic sleeves, Darylin sleeves. And actually, if you go to my my blog, jeepmama.com, there's a blog on the whole Jeep door hinge. But now my doors can open, so I can take passengers with me now.
That's definitely a benefit. Was it the rear doors?
It was, yes, both the rear doors.
We have trouble on our 4-door with the rear doors, even though we have kids getting in and out of them just almost as often as the driver door is used, right?
And it's worse on the East Coast or near the oceans or the Gulf because of the salty air or the salty roads.
Wait, are you suggesting that all of the salt that they spray on the roads is somehow damaging our vehicles, Tammy?
Yes. Shocker. Shocker.
I mean, the local DOT would disagree with you. It is for safety reasons. It doesn't hurt you or your vehicle.
No. So how about you? I know you've been really busy with work. Anything?
Yeah. So the conference in Denver is our internal company conference, and working in the position that I work in meant I had a lot of work to do because I work booth duty and I had 3 different technology related labs that I'm not going to bore our audience with to help run.
Darn.
So it meant there was a whole lot of preparation on my side, but I did get what felt like 38 seconds of work done on that Ford Super Duty Dana 60. I started getting the hubs taken off and started a few cuts into the bracketry that has to be taken off. So, at this rate, 5 or 6 years from now, I'll have it ready.
There you go.
So that's pretty much what I've been up to.
So speaking of builds, don't we have a guest tonight who does lots of different
We do have a guest tonight, but it's weird because it's going to get confusing.
I know.
We're going to have 2 Nates on the show,
the same Nate,
and it's really strange. So
we don't care to hear about from you. So if I say Nate, it's our guest. Okay, we don't want to hear from you. We want to hear from our guest.
All right, so I guess if no one's guessed, we've got Dirt Lifestyle Nate. He's just waiting over there in the...
Excited. I was going to say, we forgot to tell him that this is the Off-Road Insiders podcast.
Yeah, I thought of that, but then it felt awkward to say it late, so good job. We got to put that in the script.
Yes.
The script that we don't have, so.
No,
all right, everyone's waiting to talk to Nate, so let's go ahead and bring him in.
Up.
Hi,
Yay!
Nate.
Howdy.
How's it going?
Going well. Am I unmuted now?
You
are unmuted now.
You are live.
We could just call me Pickle if it'll make it too confusing to have 2 Nates. I mean, I've been called Pickle my whole life. That is my last name, just so everyone knows. It's not like for some weird reason.
I was going to say some secret.
I've always wondered if that was some sort of a moniker you used, because it's such a unique last name. I don't think I've ever heard that last name before.
Nope. It was originally German. It was Bickel with a B as in boy. And then when they came to when Franz Bickel came to Butte, Montana in 1889, he changed it to Frank Pickle because
why would he do that?
Because you have to Americanize things when you come to America, right?
In those days, I guess. So he worked in a mine in Baden-Württemberg, Germany. And I assume that Bickel maybe had something to do. I don't speak German, but it might have had something to do with like a pick, because then whenever he came to America, he changed it to pickle. Maybe he was thinking pick. I have no idea. That's like my grandpa didn't even know any of this. I just dug around and kind of like discovered some of this from old census stuff. And
That's
Is
crazy.
that cool to do that genealogy
Oh, yeah.
stuff? I
We
love
had-
it.
I love
We
it.
had a librarian or something. Someone that taught us in school with the last name of Bickle. Now I'm curious.
Really.
Maybe
It's not a common last name over there
Pennsylvania.
either. It's so it might be related to him.
Now, how
There you
far
go.
back have you gone in your family tree?
That's as far as I could go was Franz Bickel. And then I found a long lost relative who actually went to Baden-Württemberg, Germany. And he went to this church that had like Franz Bickel's like birth records with all of his brothers and
Oh.
sisters and everything. So I was able to find that info and then connected with a family member in Denver who we didn't even know that each other existed. And what we found each other through Ancestry. So
Wow.
and he didn't have any of the like family. I have this trunk that is like all of our family like pictures and stuff from like of Franz Bickel and like his kids and his wife and all this stuff from like late 1800s. And my family member that I discovered in Denver, who was doing all this research, he had never even seen what Franz Bickel looked like. So I was able to email
he was
him.
so excited, I bet.
I
That's
called him on the
crazy.
phone and I was like, check your email. And I got to hear
Uh-huh.
his reaction on the phone. It was so cool. It was a really fun couple of months of me doing all that research. So anyway,
That's
I'm
pretty
sure
cool.
we're here to talk about trucks, but
Well,
I
you know, I
love
mean,
history. So I bring up history in conversations often.
the first question we were going to bring up was, who is this Nate guy? I didn't
He's
think
the
we'd be going this far back. though.
Son of Frank Bickle.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
That's pretty
That's
cool.
probably a deeper introduction that a lot of people would expect.
Right.
Well, there's our scoop. Have you talked about that on any other podcasts?
No, I don't think
There we
I
go.
don't think so.
Now
I don't
we're
know,
unique.
man. I talked so much
Breaking
shit about
news.
stuff. Yeah, breaking news. Yeah.
Oh,
But,
so Nate,
Cool
tell
stuff.
us, like, maybe there's, I guarantee you everyone in the chat room and everyone listening to us knows who you are, but just like a short little, who are you?
yeah.
Where can
No
we
problem.
find you?
So I'm a plumber from Tacoma, Washington. And I became a plumber when I was 20. And then 15 years later, I was on a YouTube channel called Bleep and Jeep. And after like 11 months, it was like 54 videos. I decided to start my own channel, and it grew really quickly. And then I started doing YouTube full time. A lot of people don't know I had a very, very serious car accident, and I had a doctor that was telling me to stop doing construction. So I used YouTube. I was like, if I can work as hard on YouTube as I did in construction, maybe I could turn it into something. And so that was what I did. I just focused all my efforts on it and was able to grow it. And that was like 5 years ago. So I've been doing YouTube for 5 years as of last weekend, I think.
And that's all you do is YouTube. That's your job,
Yep.
right?
Yep, that's it.
And
Yeah.
if you want to be successful, I mean, mine's my hobby. You have to give it everything 24/7.
Yeah.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
doubt.
Construction's super hard work, and it taught me how to I know what real hard work is. I know what it's like to dig ditches in the rain in the Pacific Northwest. And I know so when I came to YouTube, I was like, oh, this isn't hard work. It's frustrating work. It's a boatload of hours, but my back feels great. So
Right.
I'm going to keep doing this. So there's a lot to it if you want to be successful at this, and it's like always changing and you're always learning and all this other stuff and trying to figure out how to become relatable, and the communication is so difficult. It's so easy to like gloss over details that people are curious about or whatever. But 5 years later, I'm still constantly trying to get better at it. And that's the journey, I guess, when you're trying to do something like this.
Yeah,
And it's such an ever-changing medium.
Oh yeah.
Social media and YouTube, and with AI involved, and it's just like you got to keep up with all that to stay relative. Otherwise, you're gonna get knocked off the top by some TikToker or something. You know?
We will all succumb to the TikTok influencers one day.
Someday. I was just gonna say you've struck sort of an interesting balance, I think, with a lot of your videos. When I started doing the YouTube thing, I made a concerted effort to not gloss over like the really annoying and time consuming pieces of projects that I do because so many people were just skipping that because they're
Mm.
like, nobody wants to see this. Hey, I did a thing, and it makes it look like it's super simple. Sometimes my videos come out way too long because of that, because I focus too much on that, I think. You
Yep.
seem to have figured out just the right balance of like annoying minutia, time consuming things, but still in the video versus, like the cool flashy stuff. And I don't know how you managed to do that, but
I think about this all the time, and I started to think of it. There's a storytelling aspect to this that's so important, and my strategy in order to get information across isn't just me looking at the camera and talking. It's me looking at the camera talking. It's me doing voiceover with little shots of you seeing me do the step, and then I mean I'll even have text on screen. But it's like if you can. I keep bumping this mic. I'm so sorry if it like you guys are hearing just me being clumsy as hell. Um,
happens.
but it's like the combination is the goal for me is to try to make the video as tidy as possible so that I can, so that people like my dad, who's not into cars at all, can watch it and he can understand it and it's quick enough that he's not getting bored, right? And so like that is like my big goal in all this. And so I appreciate you saying that. Like that means a lot. That's what the goal is to try to make it consumable.
Do you have any prior to this? Did you have any sort of video editing, TV, any sort of background on
No,
this?
I went on a Bleep and Jeep fan ride at Easter Jeep Safari 2018, I think, or 2017, one of those. And I was filming because my dad is a photographer. He just takes like stills, just pictures. And I don't know if that influenced me, but when I started going off road in like 2005, I always had the want to just film what we were doing. So my friends and I would just film clips of us just driving through mud holes or going over a big rock. I didn't know what I
Mhm.
was doing, but once a year, my friends and I would get together. We'd have beers. We'd watch all these clips. I'd never edited anything. And so when I was on the trail with Matt with Bleep and Jeep at Easter Jeep Safari, he saw me with the camera filming and he's like, "Hey, if you edit that into a video and I think it's watchable, I will like buy it from you. Like I'll pay you to do content for our channel." And I was like, what an opportunity.
Right.
So I recorded a bunch of stuff at that Easter Jeep Safari. And when I got back, I just like started Googling like video editing software. I'd never edited a video or anything. I had no idea. And so I got like we what everybody does. I probably got a free one at first, edited
Yeah.
something, threw it at Matt. I didn't hear anything back for a couple days, and then it was on Bleep and Jeep, and I was like, "Oh, I guess I'm on Bleep and Jeep. This is awesome."
Just like that.
Yeah. So then after a few videos, I got to be honest, I hated every video I did for like 3 years, but I always was tweaking and trying to figure out like, okay, I like this a little better now. Let me do that. And but I fell in love with the video editing side of things really quickly. Like
That's my
within the
favorite. Mhm.
yeah, within like 2, 3, 4 videos, I was like, "Oh, this is like a different hobby that I could get into this too." So then all the YouTube I was watching was all photography, it was video editing. It was like there is a plethora of amazing photography YouTube channels. And then like watching all these really high quality edits and all this really high quality video was just rubbing off on me. And it just got me so inspired. So as I'm getting originally, I was thinking I'm going to get all this sweet Bleep and Jeep money and I'm going to like buy stuff for my Jeep. Instead, I was just investing it all in camera gear and editing
Right.
stuff,
It's funny how that works.
Yeah. And so I just took to it so quickly. I really fell in love with the whole process. And I didn't really feel like I was representing myself the way I wanted to on Bleep and Jeep. I felt like he had a completely different vibe, you know, and it was like I just wanted to have something that was just mine. And
Where you
so it
had
was,
control over your creative
yeah, totally. Well, and
person.
I did, and with Bleep and Jeep, I didn't even own the content. I was making videos for somebody else's channel, so it's like you don't own anything.
Right.
And so
Yeah.
that's why I was like, if I'm gonna work this hard, because I was still doing a full-time job as a plumber and trying to make 1 or 2 videos a week on YouTube. I was like, if I'm gonna work this hard, I want it to be for me, even if I like flop really hard. Um, so I had a talk with Matt. And I was like, you know what, man, I think I want to do my own thing. And I started Dirt Lifestyle. At first, I was like, I don't even know when I would do. I was just, I'm gonna keep filming, and then I think I'm gonna do my own channel at some point. But my wife heavily encouraged me to we need to like let's start a website like right now. Let's pick out a name. And so I was like, I think Dirt Lifestyle sounds cool enough. Like I want it to be vague enough that I could do more than just Jeeps, you know? And so that's how it all started, is just that process of stumbling into making videos because a guy told me he might pay me to make videos if they were good.
So that was in 2018.
So somewhere in
You
there, yeah.
uh-huh.
Yep. Like it was 5 years ago. So 2019, I guess, would have been when I left Bleep and Jeep. That
Yeah, I
sounds
can
about
remember
right.
when you started your own channel, and that was honestly like I had seen some of your content on Bleep and Jeep, but it was just sort of like part of their channel. You were
Mhm.
just one of the people.
Because weren't there
Yep.
like 4 guys or something at that time?
There were a
At
couple
that time,
folks.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you made your own channel, it was just like people started talking about it. I'm like, oh, I recognize this guy, and it turned out you made really good content. So
Thanks, man.
stuck
Appreciate that.
around.
Yeah.
But
And that was always the goal. The goal was always to just make as good a video as I can make right now and just to constantly get better at it. And I'm still in that same mindset. I'm still always trying to refine it and figure out what is the most effective way to tell the story. You know, even if it's a review on a wrench, you could still find a story to tell that's fun. You just got to sit down and write it and figure out like what's the angle that's going to make it entertaining, you know?
So you don't have any like writing, like
No.
you don't have a journalism degree or anything like that. You just like boop, went in
No.
full blown, no experience.
I graduated from a poor high school in Tacoma where I barely made it through English. So
Uh-huh.
no, I have I have no experience in that. My experience is learning how to work super hard and then like just not really I have a really good like motor, I guess. Of like I'm really
Mhm.
determined, and whenever I'm passionate about something, it's all consuming. When I was a kid, they called that attention deficit disorder.
Yep.
Now I call it a way to get a good career.
it's
So
funny how like the world is kind of changing in that respect. And I'm
totally,
sorry if my dog is annoying everybody. She's going crazy out there. But
it's all good.
the world, like in that respect, the world is kind of changing because, like you said, having trouble with English in a high school. I had the
Yeah.
same problem, and now I write and create content for a living, right?
Uh-huh.
Not in the Jeep space, but and it's like if you had asked high school me that I would be writing for a living someday, I would have laughed at you,
Mhm.
right? Let
Oh
alone
yeah.
creating media or whatever for a large company like I do. Um, but in today's world, it's just so much easier for someone to pick up a camera or get down at a keyboard and just try, right? You
Mhm.
don't have to go pass a job interview first.
Definitely.
You can just start writing, start creating, and put your stuff out there. And if people like it, they like it, right? You don't need anybody's approval first.
Well, and
Which is
everybody
really good.
watching this, you just know that you can absolutely do the exact same thing.
Right.
Like never feel like there is not an obstacle that is too big for you to do this. I promise you. And I know that every YouTuber does these speeches. It's like, but I swear to God, if I can do it, you can do it. I have zero background in this. I know how to build things, and that was really the only advantage that I had, is that people were interested in me being able to build things. And that just comes from my previous career and just learning. The whole time I was plumbing for those 15 years, I was obsessed with fabrication and trying to learn how to build stuff in my shop, right? So I was like building 2 skill sets at once. I was learning how to be a master plumber, which I became, and then I was learning how to become a fabricator just as a side hobby thing for me. But outside of that, I didn't have any of the important skills that it takes to do this, other than if I don't know how to do something, I will watch YouTube videos, I'll read forums, I will figure out how to edit, I'll figure out how to film it, I'll figure out how to storytell. And just and that's the key. The key is just to be determined as hell
Mhm.
and just don't stop fighting. So I'll climb down off my podium now.
Well, no,
No,
I mean
you're fine.
it's good advice. I mean, again, this is like I've talked to so many people about whether it's starting a podcast or making videos or whatever, and I give them the exact same advice. It's like you just got to go try, Go figure
Oh,
it out.
absolutely.
Go like make a thing. And if
Yep.
the thing is terrible, make another one. It'll be
Mhm.
better. Keep making them until they're great. And then, but yeah, a lot of people think that that's kind of a barrier. And that you were talking about video editing and stuff. And I think that's the barrier for media creation. One, people are afraid to be on camera. I mean, I
Yeah,
remember the first
totally.
time I sat down to make a video, and I don't know if you were the same way. It's just like, why am I doing this? I'm
Yeah.
gonna look like a complete idiot. And
People are going to make
Dude,
fun of me.
yeah,
it's so awkward. Like the first time I sat in my shop by myself and looked at a camera and started talking to it, I
yeah,
felt like such a fraud. And
Right.
honestly, I felt that way for months. Um, where you're just kind of like, what am I doing? Like, is this even me? Like,
Right.
like you can't help but like doubt yourself. It's like, who do I think I am? Like, am I an influencer now? But
right,
it's once you
right.
get over that and you forget about all that other stuff and you just focus on the job, then you realize like, oh, anybody can do this. And then whether or not you're going to be entertaining or good at it and stuff is between you and the audience, but
Mhm.
you can still try really hard and figure out what works.
And you're not going to please everyone. You're always going to have those haters or those people who are going to,
Oh
those
yeah.
make comments about why are you're just I was called a whore because I would get, free stuff to
Yeah,
do
that's
reviews. And I'm like, you just get,
I'm
you,
laughing because of the daily beatings that I take. I mean, it's just, it's I'm laughing because I'm in the trenches with
yes.
you.
And you know
I,
what? Then you start meeting people out on the trails or whatever. And these people are just like you. You're not better than them. They're not better than you. And,
Yeah, totally.
and you just, your skin gets thicker and you just like, hey,
Yes.
everybody has opinions and you're not going to
Yeah.
please everybody.
Yeah. And that it takes a while. I haven't met anybody who has handled the level of criticism that you get on YouTube. I haven't met anybody who's taken it well.
Hmm.
It takes a bit before you figure out how to balance it to where you're either consuming too much, like more than you can handle or whatever. I mean, I've literally had death threats. Like I've had
Oh, I
insane
haven't had
feedback.
that. So yeah.
I have. And it's like, dude, I'm not talking politics or religion. Like I'm building axles and
Right.
putting them underneath trucks. Like
yeah,
relax.
yeah,
Right.
And
exactly. But like, you're right. Politics, religion, they bring those people out. But I can't imagine.
yep.
But I've heard the same thing about lots of other big YouTube channels that I'm sure you'd recognize,
Yeah.
especially if they have a female lead. They
Yeah.
just get so much hatred, and
Yeah.
I don't know why
It's
people are like that.
jealousy. It's jealousy because they want to be
It
that person.
also it is jealousy, but there is a lot more mental illness than we are aware of. Like when you actually look at the numbers, and those people have access to YouTube too. So,
Hmm.
you know, like, a comment section is not the best place to communicate, and people misrepresent themselves in there all the time. And so even if like there's lots of people who are bipolar, there's lots of different things going on. There's like somebody who could have just went through a bad breakup. They're watching your video and now they're gonna pick on you for no reason at all.
Right.
Things are just happening, in people's lives. And so whenever I like, putting yourself out there the way that we do, you you grow up in ways that I don't think you can in other ways. Like
Hmm.
my ability to understand that a lot of times when people are criticizing me, it's not even about me. Like that was a big moment for me when I realized like, oh, well, there's very likely they very likely are not like I've had people swear to God, I had someone say like you look like your parents were both drug addicts, like that kind of
Oh.
stuff. And it's like, okay, like, I mean, it's super rude and super mean, and they're clearly trying to invoke some sort of reaction, but, like, that's not about me. It's not because I look like my parents were drug addicts, it's because of them. And, like, once you
Right.
start to realize all that, then a lot of it just kinda goes away. I read comments for a living, basically, and it's, the more you, like, learn how to deal with it and the more you grow through it, you learn a lot about people, I think, and
Hmm.
it's made it easier for me to uh, I don't know. I'm a little more understanding and more considerate of the people around me because of the negative comments, to be honest with you. So,
I had I had made a video early on in my YouTubing when my kids were still both very small, and we were under my Jeep. I had it up on stands, all as safe as I could make it, right? And we were just opening the rear diff because I wanted to find out if it came with a track lock or not. That's it, right? I made a video so you could help identify a track lock. And my kids were
Mhm.
down there. And mainly the reason I wanted them there was so that I could get their reaction at the smell of gear oil. Because, kids and disgusting smells and whatever.
Oh, totally.
And it turned out to be a super cute video, right? And we succeeded. My kids learned something. They got to be in a video with me. Cool. Some guy responded saying, "I hope the Jeep falls on your kids." I'm like, what is wrong
I
with
know.
you?
Yeah,
What?
absolutely.
What
Absolutely.
happened to you?
Yes. And
I just-
again, that's not about you or your kids. That's what
Exactly.
I'm saying. It's like,
Exactly.
that's
I
about
just
them.
quietly deleted the comment and moved on with my life. I'm like, this guy's not getting anything out of me.
I have fun with it now. Excuse me. If someone's being unreasonable and saying like, I'll either ignore it or sometimes I'll play like with them, and people will see in the comments that I'm playing with it. It doesn't, Or I had a guy call me out in a comment section last winter when I was doing a snow video, and he like basically challenged me saying his Silverado on 35s would just destroy my Tacoma, leave me on the trail and all this other stuff. So I was like, you know what, this will be kind of fun. I screenshotted it, I posted it on Instagram. I was like, everybody go to my comment section. If you want to see me and this guy go head to head on the snow, let him know. So it was hundreds of people being like, meet up with Nate. It gave my email address, all this stuff. And then he played victim big time. It was so funny how things turned. But it's like you can have fun with it. And I bet that since then, that guy probably hasn't made any more shitty comments to people online. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because he probably
Well,
realized, like, he reread his thing a couple times, like, maybe I was being unreasonable,
Maybe. I mean,
But-
the sad thing is it may not have deterred him at all. He just found someone else to rain on their parade,
Half as possible. I'm
Some people
trying
are
to
just like
glasses
that.
half full this, Nate. And my
Yeah.
glasses half full, Nate, and your glasses half empty.
I know.
Nate? Is that the
Optimist Nate and pessimist
I've-
Nate.
I've
There you go.
I've been around the internet for too long to have optimism when it comes to trolls online. It's gone. I'm generally an optimist, but not when it comes to that.
So I remember
Yeah.
my
Well,
first.
but switching this to more
Oh.
positive things is. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. It's your.
No.
You're a
Oh,
guest.
I was just gonna say, switching this to more positive things. The amount of praise on YouTube, the amount of people who really value what like that we're out there making stuff for
Mhm.
them to watch is way more important, and
Yes.
there's way bigger numbers of those kinds of people. It's the negative stuff is definitely the outliers, and it's notable because it's so extreme. People talking about you crushing your kids underneath
Right.
a Jeep
Yeah.
is more notable than someone saying, Nate, I really got a lot of value in this video. Thank you for sharing your like that doesn't get the same kind of staying power. So we like to
Yes.
shine our light on those kinds of comments for some reason. But the reality is it's such a positive space and it's a positive world. And most of these people, I've yet to have a negative comment in person. I have people stop me and say thanks for content all the time, but not one time in person has someone, told me
Right.
to go F myself or something.
That's
So,
because usually they won't in person unless they know they
Yeah.
can back it up.
And I agree with the positive thing because I have so many men and women like, oh my God, you inspired me. Here I was, this stay-at-home mom. All I knew is you put a key in a car and turned it on and you drove. And now I like work on my Jeep, I go off-road, and they're like, you inspired me to do this. And they've all like exceeded what I'm doing. They have trailers and campers on their truck and they're pulling their Jeeps, and their Jeeps are huge and they're taking them all over the country. And it's because I inspired them to do that. And that's what keeps me going. And I'm sure for you, you get the same, that great feeling when people, give you great comments like that.
it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It really is.
is.
To be able to
It
affect
is.
somebody in a positive way is it's as rewarding as it gets, for sure.
And I don't
And
know if
you're-
it's just our little off-road Jeep community that's like this, or I don't know if YouTube gamers get the same the same thing. I don't
Who
know.
knows?
But I love this community. I just feel like we're this great big family, you
The
know.
Oh, that's
off-road
awesome.
community is definitely, it's one of the few, right? I used to work with a guy, well, technically still do. He's just in a different department than me, but he's a Volkswagen guy. And he told me on a number of occasions, he's like, I don't understand you Jeep people. He's like, us Volkswagen guys all hate each other. I'm like, really?
So
I
he's
don't
a
know if
water
it's just
he's a water cooled Volkswagen guy, isn't he? It's all modern
maybe.
Volkswagens. It's not air cooled stuff.
Yeah, he's got newer stuff.
Yeah.
Not like
So
brand new, but like 90s era stuff.
I'm a VW guy, and there are two different groups of people. If you go
Yeah.
to like a modern, it's more of like the Euro tuner type of crowd that's in like the more modern Volkswagen stuff, and they would do what I call congratulating. It's like you'll just be hating on people while you're like congratulating them how cool their car is. It's like, oh yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have done it that way, but I think it's really cool that you did that kind of shit. Whereas if you go to like air
Passive
cooled,
aggressive.
yes, it's so weird. And then if you go to air cooled meetups and stuff with like all the old school Volkswagen stuff, buses, vans, like all that, everyone is so unbelievably friendly and they want to like hear every little aspect of all the like it's two completely different crowds, you know. But there is definitely in like the sport tuner and even like I used to go to Honda Tech with my Honda friends and stuff, like big Honda, and it was the same thing as the water cooled VW guys. It's a bunch of dudes that are like kind of judge. I'm like, why do we even go to this? Like everyone's so rude to each other.
Everybody
Right.
together.
Yeah, but no, the off-road community I find is amazing. You know, you get every once in a while you get somebody with something to prove, but most people are you know, I mean, every time someone's broke down or stuck, I don't drive by them. I stop to see if I can offer my help, you know. And I'm not the only one who's doing that.
I gave a fan belt to a guy broken down on the side of the trail at AOAA. He happened to have a 4.0 with AC just like I do, and I have a spare fan belt. His broke. He was almost end of the day. He was panicked about how he was going to get out. I gave it to him. Turned out that he was like on a club ride that was sponsored by one of the local 4x4 shops. And I got a phone call the next day from like the president of the shop personally thanking me. I'm like, well, thanks.
Oh, that's awesome.
You never know who you're going to help.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
I
that's
actually
funny that way.
helped she's a huge YouTuber and I can't think of Stargirl, but she does zodiac astrology stuff and she was in the Mojave Desert. Her and her boyfriend were stuck in their truck and we pulled her out and she's like, "Oh, here, let me give you some money." I'm like, "No, no, no." I go, "Just go follow me on YouTube." The next thing you know, my YouTube channel is blowing up because all her fans are like, "Thank you for saving Stargirl." I'm like, I had no idea. She was way, way bigger than me because it was an astrology thing. But yeah, you
That's
never
cool.
know who you're going to run into.
Totally.
Have you collaborated with any other besides the Bleep and Jeep guys? Have you done any YouTube collaborations with any others?
Yes. Most of the time that I've collabed with other people, it's smaller channels.
Mhm.
Like but I have collabed with like Brad of Trail Recon is definitely the biggest channel that I've him and I have been friends for a while. He's great. But like I will like discover smaller YouTube channels up here in the Pacific Northwest and just some of them are super talented and undiscovered. My buddy Ed Shin, huge shout out Ed Shin. He has a YouTube channel called Crocum Outdoors, and I feel like he's so underrated. He's so good. So like after watching him and kind of like being a fan for like 7-8 months, I reached out to him. I was like, "Dude, can we get together and go camping? Like, I just want to like be your friend." And then so I collabed with him a bunch and collabed with some other YouTube channels, but the biggest is definitely just Brad. I did just do this thing with Matt's Off-Road Recovery, but I wouldn't really call it a collaboration. I just was like, I had my Samurai at his, he had an event that I went down to Utah for, but yeah, that's pretty much it as far as collaborations.
We still need to get you out to the other coast of this country so that
I tried, Nate. You remember? I was
Yeah.
over there. We just
Yeah,
didn't
I
make it
know.
happen.
I know we were this close,
We were.
and then
We were
something
only
came
a
up.
few hours away from each other. Yeah.
But the Mammoth at AOAA is open now. You gotta, I mean, bring that Sammy out here. I think that would be a great.
You know what? I'll do it as soon as fuel gets back down to like a normal cost.
I guess I can't blame you there.
Dude.
So
That-
videos
yeah.
in the chat room. he says I like Ed Shin's videos too, and he actually wants to know who your 3 favorite YouTube collaborators would be.
Oh, my
I think
favorite YouTube collaborate, like people that I have collaborated with, or people that I would like
I
to.
don't know. Maybe who you like to. Who would you like to?
You
That's
know
probably
what
a
this?
hard one.
I got to be honest. I don't watch a lot of off-road
Yeah,
YouTube.
I know.
I'm
Same here.
It's
obsessed
funny
with
like that.
other. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think maybe it's because it's like my job. It'd be like I was a plumber for 15 years. I wouldn't come home and watch plumbing YouTube. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Exactly.
But I love four-wheel drive 24/7. I think that's one of my favorite channels, I think, in the off-road space. So I would love to collaborate with them. Who else?
I think it would be
Um,
cool for like one niche to get with another niche and try to do, cross,
I was just
you
going
know,
to
I
say,
don't
what about channels that
Yeah.
are outside of the off-road space?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how that would work exactly, but
Like you could get a
Oh.
chef to come with you on your camping trip and cook for you
There
on the
you
camping
go.
trip, you know?
I'd watch that.
there's two video YouTubers that are like some of my favorite YouTubers out there, and they're not even that big but they're like I just love what they do, and I would love to collab. But there's one called Make Art Now, and he's a guy who does a bunch of just incredible videos. His quality and his presence on camera, he's just so good.
Uh-huh.
And there's another one called Jesse Driftwood. They're both just super creative, and they inspire the shit out of me. Like it makes me want to go out in the shop and just like really push my creativity. Those
Uh-huh.
are two channels that I would love to collab with. As far as channels that I have collaborated with, I think my favorite one that I've ever collaborated with, if I had to choose favorites, it would be Brad Ochoa Recon and then Edward Chin.
Mhm.
They're such great people. Like
Mhm.
in front of the camera, behind the camera, like they are outstanding. So here's the real like hidden benefit to being a YouTuber is that you can reach out to people like Brad with Trail Recon and be like, hey man, I make YouTube videos too. Can we be friends? And then you
Right.
become friends. Whereas if I didn't have a YouTube channel, just some dude, it'd be like, hey, will you be my friend, Brad with Trail Recon? It's not the same thing. So
Not
it's
the
nice
same.
to yeah, it's nice to be a YouTuber
It's
because you
kind
get
of
to
like
like
another
pick your
little
friends.
inner circle in the
Yeah.
off-road world.
Yeah. Yeah, and anytime we're in each other's videos, me or our subscribers all love it. They're just like, it's so
Mhm.
cool to like watch you guys just hang out together and just be for and
Right.
I get it because I'm a YouTube fan too, so it's awesome.
And there's something about it being like natural, right? If you genuinely get along with the person you're filming a video with, it comes across in the video. Well,
Mhm.
other than like I'm doing this because they're bigger than me and I want the subscribers, right? Or whatever.
And I try to keep my finger on the pulse of analytics and seeing channels growths and stuff. I do my best, and one thing that I have noticed big time is it doesn't work that way anymore. Where like just because someone comes on Matt's Off-Road Recovery's channel doesn't mean that they get subscribers now.
Yeah.
People are kind of over just following the friends of the people you watch. And you need to give them a lot more of a you need to promote, or you need to like give more value than that. I
Mhm.
think to like it's really interesting. Just because you collaborate with a big channel doesn't mean anything now. It's like you still have to make just like super high quality content. You got to be entertaining on camera. You got to find the fun stuff that people are watching your channel for. This whole time we're just talking about YouTube. I'm so sorry, guys. We could talk about
Oh,
other
no.
stuff.
No,
I love it. Well,
Okay.
I ran another podcast before we started this one, which we closed up, and we had another popular podcast in the same industry come on the show, and this is exactly what happened. We talked about podcasting the whole show.
right.
Yes.
So, like so what's your favorite off-road vehicle then?
There you
Oh
go.
man.
Now you asked a tough one.
Yeah.
Have you seen his
Yeah.
garage, Tammy?
I know.
Dude.
I don't
It's
think he
like-
has a favorite. He just buys them all.
That's yes.
So they all are.
I can't pick a favorite, but I can give you two off-road vehicles that I might not ever sell. The one for sure my grandkids will inherit as long as it's like legal to drive by the time that ever happens.
Right.
Will be my TJ. I will never sell
Uh-huh.
the TJ. I fit like a glove in that TJ. I can see out of the TJ great. There's a lot of there's a lot of things that TJ doesn't do great, but there's a ton of things that it does better than like anything else I've ever owned. I love my TJ. So it's sad because it's on jack stands. And so I will restore it to its glory one day, but
I
that's
was
one
going to
vehicle
say, as
I'll
a
never get rid of.
fellow TJ owner, we have to have an intervention, I think, because that poor thing is languishing. How are you even going to get it to the new shop?
Dude, we are talking about this a lot lately. I am not sure. We're going to try. Seriously. I've got a forklift. I got some longer forks, but I'm still like, the way it's positioned in the shop is a nightmare. I'm like, we're going to use a couple Harbor Freight off-road jacks, I think, and like drag it to it's going to suck. It's going to
Stay
suck bad.
tuned, people, for that video.
Oh, dude.
You better
Maybe I
film it
should
however
do
you
that.
do.
That's a good call. I wasn't going to, but you're right. I should film that because
How to get your dead project to your new property.
oh yeah, I'll call it "Everybody Watch This But OSHA" because we're gonna be doing
Right.
some things that are not
Yeah.
safe.
Sketchy,
Get that
right.
out of the
Sketchy stuff with the names.
out of the shop.
Step 1, rent helicopter.
So that's the first one, and this little tattoo is of my Jeep. It doesn't look like a TJ, but that's the reason I got this little Jeep tattoo. And then the other tattoo is my Land Rover, which
Oh,
wow, that's cool.
absolutely fell in love with immediately. And the Land Rover is like more of a lust. The TJ makes sense. There's a lot of reasons to like a TJ. The Land Rover, it's everything that everybody says they are. You need to work on it all the time, all this other stuff. But I don't care that it's a high maintenance girlfriend. I love this thing. I love it so much. Every time I'm in there, I'm like, oh my God, this is luxury. It's just like the way they design, it's the best form factor of any platform I've ever driven or owned or anything. I love the Disco too. It's the captain's chairs. It's so rare to find an off-road vehicle that has like 2 spots to like rest your elbows while you're driving. I love a good captain's chair. So it sounds awesome, even though it makes no power. It sounds like it makes a bunch, and Rover V8 life. But so yeah, those are the 2 vehicles that those are probably my 2 favorites if I had to choose. Although the Samurai is auditioning to become my favorite. My Samurai is so fun, and it's like driving a race car on 43s. It's neat.
That
you
thing
have like
looks
10
crazy.
favorites. 10
Yeah.
favorites, right?
No, totally. Yeah.
I'd love to see if I can. I'm a relatively short person. I'd love to see if I can walk underneath the Samurai without hitting my head.
Yeah. Maybe
It
not
looks
walk,
crazy.
but
It looks
it's-
crazy tall.
Oh yeah, it's tall. I built it old school. That's when I started wheeling, that's what everything was. Everything was tall because like the farther away you can get the body from the rocks, the better you are on the rocks. The low center of gravity thing didn't really start until like, I don't know, a few years after the JKs came out, and like you started to see that longer wheelbase on trails. Because back in the day, the perfect wheelbase was 100 inches. Anything longer than that, you'd feel like it was too long. Anything shorter than that, it was unstable. And then the JKs came out and changed everything. Because once everyone was like, oh, wow, wheeling 117 is really nice. My front tires barely come off the ground when I climb steep stuff. And then stuff started to get shorter. Didn't have to be as tall for whatever reason. I don't know why. Low center of gravity, I guess, just more stable.
Yeah.
But I wanted to build the Samurai tall, like how things used, but I wanted to still be glued to the ground. And that's why I put like the heaviest, craziest, highest clearance axles I could under it.
Yeah.
And so that thing defies physics. You feel like you're almost on your side, and it's not, the body doesn't even roll. It's amazing.
I think the only way you could have got a lighter off-road vehicle is if you started with a side-by-side.
Yeah. No,
Like,
yeah.
like if you put Rockwell's under a quad, maybe.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It's a really rare set of attributes. I can't wait to get it back to. I've had some transmission issues. We keep throwing rebuilt transmissions in it, and we keep having to pull them back out because they're not functional. So once apparently getting an NV3550 now is like absolutely impossible. And rebuilt manuals, it's really difficult for them to test them on their manual dyno in the way that the NV3550 fails. Because they'll rebuild them, they'll go into gear just fine. But whenever you let out the clutch and you load the gear, the problem is they will just spit right back out. So I've had 3 transmissions in a row now. They're rebuilt NV3550s that all spit right out of gear. So now
Wow.
we put an AX50. Yeah, it's a problem that's like indicative of that transmission. So we're learning our lesson the expensive way, and now we're putting
I
an
guess so.
AX15 in there. Yeah, we got an
I had
AX15 in there, and now I'm about to fire it up and drive it for the first time here this week. So
I had the opposite experience with my YJ. It had an AX15 in it, and the synchros went like it seemed like they always did that because everybody was putting the wrong fluid in them. And
mm,
then I put a rebuilt AX15 in it, and that one had another issue where I couldn't get it out of gear one day. I was like pulling up to a stop sign and it was stuck in third gear. I couldn't get it out. So I decided I
oh
was sick of
man,
the AX15. I put a 3550 out of a TJ in it. And man, I
really?
never looked back. That thing was amazing.
Oh, I hope I didn't make a mistake. I just couldn't. I kept trying to put 3550s in there, and I can't get one that works.
I tell you what, I've told that story to a lot of people, and they're like, "What do you mean? The AX15 is an awesome transmission." I'm like, "Not for me, it wasn't."
that's interesting.
I hope you have
Yeah.
the other luck. Maybe I just had bad luck with it. I hope you have everybody else's luck with it.
We are opposite Nates, aren't we? This is
I
Yes,
guess so.
exactly.
I guess so. On the opposite
Yeah.
side of the country.
And I'm assuming you've been wheeling your off-roading your whole life, or
No,
this
I
is where I
grew
was going
up.
to start, by the way. We were going to
Yeah.
talk about how you got
Okay.
into off-roading.
Well, here we go. Let's start the podcast now. I've
right.
been blabbering. I grew up in a military family. My mom and dad met in the Air Force. We were always an outdoor family as well. We went camping all growing up, hiking, all that stuff. We didn't do any off-roading. My dad is not mechanically inclined at all. He doesn't even own tools. But
Oh,
I
wow.
always was obsessed with figuring out how things worked. So, I mean, I was the kid that had every VCR torn apart. And, anytime something electronic failed, it was Nate. I got to take it apart. And whenever I got into high school, I became obsessed with cars like a lot of guys. And I was obsessed with the outdoors. I was really into rock climbing and all this different. I mean, I'm from Washington. It's just like total
Right.
normal dude stuff to get obsessed with up here. And I had 2 jobs senior year, plus I was working at Best Buy, GNC in the mall, General Nutrition Center, and so I was saving up my whole senior year. And when I graduated, I bought my first 4-wheel drive. I bought a 1987 Chevy S10 Blazer, so the small one. And I
I
was
had
like,
an 89.
"Did you?" Yeah,
Yeah.
nice.
It was my first
4.3 or
off-road vehicle too. 4.3.
2.8 or okay. I had the
Yeah.
2.8.
With
Unfortunately,
the gold trim on the bottom of the doors, the black
oh,
with
nice,
gold
dude.
trim. Yeah, it was
Super
great.
classy,
Digital dash
clearly.
that never worked right.
Yeah, same here. Yeah, so I bought that so that I could, because I had a 78 Cutlass Supreme before that I inherited from my grandma. And so I went and I bought this Chevy S10 Blazer. I think I got it for like $1,200 or $1,400 or something. It was a 5-speed manual. My dad had just taught me how to drive stick. And I was obsessed with it. I mean, there was like no parts for it really, because nobody else was obsessed with them. But I was like, I can fold the back seat down and camp in it and then wake up and go rock climbing or wake up and go hiking. Like, it was awesome. And so right when I graduated, I bought this. I used it all summer just for camping and stuff. And then that next fall, I ran into a buddy of mine from high school. He was now a senior. He was a grade below me. And he was like, dude, we're going out to this place called Evans Creek this weekend. You should come camping with us. Cause I told him, I was like, yeah, dude, I got my first 4x4. Like, I'm pumped. Like, I'm outdoors like all the time. He's like, you got to come wheeling with us. So I did. It was my first wheeling trip. It was my first time I ever used 4Low. I was like, I think 19. And I was like, this is incredible. Like, I just couldn't believe it. I was like, this is life now. Like, I don't even have a choice. Like, this is all I want to do. And when I bought the S10 Blazer, what I really wanted was either a Jeep or a K5 Blazer. My stepdad had a K5 when I was growing up in Oklahoma, and he would come like pick us up from our Boy Scout meetings and stuff with like no top on it. And I thought we were the most badass ever. Rolling around, no
There's
top in the
something
K5.
about
Oh,
There's
yeah,
something
dude.
about a 4x4 with no top on it. Yeah.
Dude, amazing. And so then I found a friend who he was like driving really far away for work every day in his K5 Blazer. And we traded straight across my little 2.8 S10 Blazer for his V8 K5 Blazer, because my commute was short. And I was like, I mean, it was like the best ever. I was so pumped. We went wheeling, quote unquote, like every weekend and sometimes during the week. And just
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I think we
like
lost.
dirt bike trail stuff.
Oh,
Oh no,
sorry.
I cut out. I'm
Yeah,
back.
your
You're back. You're
satellite,
back.
I guess.
Anyway, I started like a lot of people do when they're like 18, 19, which is like wheeling in places you're not supposed to. And
Uh-huh.
so we were doing that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I love this K5, and it was such a POS. It was insane how unreliable and poorly managed. It was definitely like an old forestry truck or something that had just been just absolutely abused its whole life. And I put a camshaft in it and headers and all this stuff. And eventually my dad was like, he thought it was the biggest pile of crap ever, and he wanted to help me get into something nicer. So he's like, "You've got a solid job. Why don't you come down and get a Jeep? You've been wanting a Jeep." And so I went down and looked at this TJ. This is 2006. The TJ was a 2002. And to me, just fresh out of high school, I'm like, this is like a brand new car. Like,
Yeah.
how could I ever buy, you know? And he worked at a dealer that had that TJ. And so he was able to get me the employee discount. I think I got it for like $14,000, which when you're 19, it feels like a million, you
Yeah.
know, like I was making like $8 or $9 an hour. So I was just like, can I really like buy a car for
Right.
$14,000? And the funny
much
thing is,
money?
you know, you could like resell a TJ for 14. Like it would have never lost value if I just kept it stock.
I paid close to that for my LJ with 80 some thousand miles on it. It's an 05. And what was that? 2017? So yeah,
Oh, nice.
there are definitely, I mean, it's an LJ, not a TJ, so but so that definitely brings the price up. But yeah, they're definitely not losing value like you'd think.
No, dude, my biggest total sidebar, my biggest regret is not buying an LJ. When those came out, we all made fun of them so hard. And there was like when I bought my TJ, I could have absolutely had an LJ for the same price or cheaper. Like they weren't
Yeah.
selling that many of
Yep.
them because in stock form, they didn't look right. And we thought that you needed shorter wheelbase to get into the tight trails up here. I would kill to trade my TJ for an LJ now. Like it's such a better platform now with all the stuff we know.
I hope to never have to get rid of this Jeep.
Yeah.
I wheeled a YJ that was sprung over for years.
Mhm.
And the stability that I felt when I got into this LJ, it's like I'm never wheeling a short wheelbase again.
Yep.
Which is
definitely.
ironic because I named my YouTube channel Short Wheelbase Crawler. But
Isn't
whatever.
But isn't that the case when like when the YJ came out? Oh, we hate the YJ. It's got square
Yeah.
headlights or whatever.
Oh,
And
yeah.
now it's
Every
like
new model.
They're,
Every new model.
they're sought after. Well, except for
Just
the JLs. That's
Look at the
we don't like
people
those
having to
JLs.
change the grill on the JL like last year.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
it looks like
Yeah.
a Renegade now. Yeah, but it's the
Right.
same vehicle otherwise.
Right.
Why are you mad?
Oh,
It's just
I
it's-
personally love the look of the JLs and JTs.
no,
I
I love them.
Yeah, me too. I love my wife's Gladiator is so practical. I hate how good it is at everything. 8 speeds, good gas mileage in the diesel, like plenty of power. I mean, we were able to just put 39s on it, and like after a day of work, I didn't have to like trim anything. With a TJ,
Yeah.
if you were to put 39s on it, you're going to destroy it. Like
Yeah.
that's what I did. You got to reinvent the wheel. But the new JLs and JTs, another sidebar, are excellent. So
they
anyway,
really put a lot of thought into designing those so they could be modified, which is
yeah,
impressive
absolutely.
with all the restrictions they must be under to make those things as safe as they have to be to meet all the standards. I mean,
yeah.
it's crazy
will
that they're
s-
still
I
able
will-
to make a Wrangler.
I will
Yeah.
say though that I used to work at a Jeep dealer for just a short stint, and the technicians do not like any of the newer vehicles, especially if they're like old school technicians, just because of all
I don't blame them.
computerized
They're
and
complicated.
electronic stuff.
They're complicated now. All that stuff you knew from that 40-year career you had is
Mhm.
like gone on the new ones.
Yeah, it's bittersweet. I guess it depends on the vehicle, but yeah, I could hear why people would think that.
Mhm.
But I like the diagnostics of new vehicles, though. I think is a really nice luxury to have.
oh,
Like I've had plenty of carbureted vehicles, and it's like, damn it, why won't this start or why won't it whatever? Whereas like
Right.
newer vehicles will tell you.
You gotta
Like
read.
right.
Yes.
You gotta read the tea leaves to figure out why
Yeah,
your older vehicle
exactly.
won't run. Is it Is it
Yeah.
air, fuel? Is it spark? Is it what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Why
it's
is it?
code PO315.
Yeah. Now you just plug in a
Exactly.
reader and it's like, do this,
Yeah.
dummy.
Yeah, clean your mass airflow sensor and
Right.
replace your air filter for God's sake. You know, like it just makes it so
Right.
much easier to understand what's going on.
Well, the shop I work at, we also do bed liner, spray in bed liners for the truck beds. And so we're getting all these brand new Fords and Chevys in and stuff. So
Uh-huh.
sometimes I have to drive them into the shop, and you drive into you drive it into the shop, and all of a sudden you put it in park. The little computer goes, "Someone's in your back seat," and you're like, "What?" And it's because whoever had the truck, they had their books or whatever in the back seat,
Oh.
and so the computer, like,
Yeah, well,
sees someone's
that's
in your back
because
seat.
that's because too
Oh
many
my
more
gosh.
like
Yeah.
left their children in the back seat and they
Yeah.
suffocated
Oh, well,
or
that's
whatever,
true,
right?
but it's
Like,
like
you remember when
there's
that was a big thing in the
Yeah.
news?
I do.
They're
Oh,
so advanced
Yeah.
now. So advanced. My son has a Tesla. That's the scariest stuff ever. He just sits there. We're coming home from the airport and his hands are sitting in his lap and he just has to touch the steering wheel every once in a while. But they drive themselves. It's like, it's crazy.
I don't
Crazy,
want to live in
crazy.
a world where I don't have to operate a vehicle anymore.
I just saw a comment from Should Have Gone Wheeling about how do I feel about this year's
Yeah.
Onyx Challenge
Oh.
field.
I don't know if you
What-
can chat about that or not, but I was going to bring that up before we finished.
I can. Let me real quick. I'll just finish what I was saying about. So I got the TJ and it changed my whole life. It was like I was going to work just so I could afford to put more parts on it, and and then eventually that turned into a tow rig, and that turned into
That's
an
every
RV, a trailer,
every young Jeepers
and-
life right there.
Yes, and then we were buying houses. My wife is a saint. She allowed me to move out of a nice, big, pretty house into a smaller house, but with a shop, just so that I could get. So that's where we got the name Dirt Lifestyle. Was like I felt like this. It's this whole lifestyle thing because I bought a Jeep once. It transformed my whole life. So
Totally.
Yeah.
You're not
Get
the
it.
only one. I mean,
I
that's
get it.
there's so many people that have the same, maybe not the exact same story, but the same thing where it's like I bought a vehicle and the vehicle became a lifestyle.
definitely.
And I commend your wife, your partner, that she's like, sacrifice isn't the right word, but
Supportive.
No, it is.
She's
sacrifice,
supportive.
supportive
Yeah.
is the right word.
There you go.
That's so awesome to have a partner.
Very supportive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
I couldn't be luckier. I've got great wife, great kids. Even my dog's awesome. I've got a really I'm very, very fortunate. So
Blessed.
this year's Onyx Challenge, I think they are doing it better than they did last year. That's what I think. I think that there was, the amount of people who say they want to see like cheap truck challenges or like affordable truck challenges kind of thing is insane. Like it was some of my favorite content has been watching people doing build challenges like that. So Onyx stepped up to the plate and they're like, well, we make off-road apps, but we will try to put together a contest like this because they want to support the off-road community. So last year's, there was a bunch of things that a lot of people didn't like, a bunch of things that I didn't like. They listened. And this year they are like, I think that this year's is way more promising for those of us that want to see like what the core is about this kind of thing. So I'm very optimistic about what this year is going to be like. Plus, they brought in more teams. They increased our budget just a little bit because there basically is everything counts towards your budget this year. Whereas last year there was all these little ways to make it not count. And this year's going to be so much better. And I think the rigs are, well, some of the teams are so ambitious and I'm looking at them like, what? You're like Rudy. I love Rudy. Rudy's awesome. And he is an underrated fabricator. He's really talented for sure. But he is turning a Mini Cooper into a full-blown rock crawler. And for people who don't know, what that means is that you're going to build a rock crawler and put a Mini Cooper on it. Like he's not going to be able to use that engine, that transmission. He's not going to be able to use it. He will be able to use the shell alone. And so if I could build a full rock crawler, like build a tube chassis, locate the axles, locate the engine transmit, locate everything, make it turnkey, runnable, reliable, everything in 6 months. I would be like, this is a new record. Like, that's an insane amount of work in 6 months, right? And Rudy's not even starting, I don't think, until like July.
Oh
And
my
we're
goodness.
supposed to have these
Wow.
things wrapped up in like September. Or wait, October. Yeah. We're going to be finishing like
crazy.
right before SEMA. So, and he's not the only one. There's a few of these, the amount of people, there's 3 teams that brought cars. And I'm like, you guys are all so ambitious.
The Pacer
Yeah.
and what was the other? Oh, the XJ Jaguar.
Yes.
Those are. I mean, the Pacer at least starts with that's got a 4.2 in it, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's all Jeep. It's all Jeep like adjacent stuff, you know?
Yeah.
So which is nice, but it's still a Pacer. Like
Yeah.
they're
I
gonna
mean,
have
what are you gonna build? Like, what's your? I can't imagine that thing has a decent frame underneath it to build from. Is what I'm getting at.
it's gotta be unibody, I would think. But you know, I don't really know either. I don't know if it's
Yeah.
unibody or frame, but
I've never seen the underside of a Pacer.
it's you know, at least they'll be able to use an engine in the same place. Like the Mini
Yeah.
Cooper,
Mhm.
I'm telling you, I had one of those. It
Yeah.
was a riot. I loved it. I built it just like a small, like few weekend long build series on it. But it is like there is no extra wiggle room anywhere. The only way Rudy can do that, I feel like, is if he has an engine in the passenger seat. Like I don't know where else he's gonna put one. And he wants to use a diesel. He wants to use a Mercedes OM617, which is not a small motor. You know, they're not huge, but it's still 5-cylinder turbo diesel. Like it takes up real estate. I'm telling you, these people are so ambitious. I thought I was being ambitious. I'm putting a Jeep body on a Dodge 1-ton frame and making
Yeah.
like a big crazy dually off-road truck that it's gonna be for like recoveries and stuff. And that's gonna be it's gonna be very involved, like many different step build that's gonna be pretty complicated, but not even close compared to these other teams. So I think that
I mean, at least
people
you're taking a truck to start with and making a truck out,
yes,
right? It's like
exactly.
you're not.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, so I think that people who are gonna watch this series are gonna have plenty to be entertained by. Let's just put it that way. There's a lot of really good teams. They're all fun to watch, and the end of this thing is gonna be very interesting to see which vehicles are gonna have enough time to be tested before we even hit the trail. Because that's one thing I'm very anal about, and I was last year too. I wanted to finish my build in time that I could go wheeling before I just like towed it all the way to
Oh,
Utah.
can you imagine? You have to
Right.
test.
That's what I'm
You
saying.
have
I
to
had a
test
couple
it out.
weekends in a row, and I found a leaky air locker. I was like, oh sweet, I have enough time to tear this back apart and fix it. These other teams, I think that they're gonna be working on them all the way up until the morning
Oh,
of a competition. That's my prediction right now,
that's
You're like
anyway.
scary.
on the trailer going down the highway
Uh,
with the welder
Yeah,
out.
I
Right.
know,
Like, you
totally.
drive. I got some.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
So speaking
So,
of competitions, you also had the Matt's Off-Road Games, right? How did that
yep,
go? Is that public yet? I don't know if is
yeah,
that
yeah,
published, I should say yet. I didn't
yeah.
get a chance to see the content if it came out.
Yep, they made a whole video, a super long video about the whole thing. It was really fun. Um, you know,
I'll have
I
to look it
didn't
up.
know what to expect. The guy that they partnered me with for that was a F1 driver from the UK, and so he's familiar with vehicles, but they're like he's used to being very flat. But I tell you, like he was really nervous at first to be in my Samurai and be controlling this big monstrosity. But I just kept telling him, I'm like, dude, listen to me. You cannot roll this. Like there is no chance. It is the widest, most bottom heavy vehicle of all time. And once we went up and down a couple steep things, he just the appetite for destruction came out. He's like, "Can we go up that?" And I'm like, "Yes, you can. Throw it in
uh-huh.
first, throw it in low, and just go, man." And he had such a blast. It was really fun for me. At first, it was a little scary for me because he seemed scared, and I was like, "You got to like really take the bull by the horns here, otherwise, this is not going to be a fun experience." But he did, and we both had so much fun, and I had a ton of fun just watching him have fun. You know, because having someone else drive something you just finished building is like a little anxiety inducing, but we ended up having just the best time together. It was so great.
I've said this a ton of times on this show. It's one of the reasons that I trail guide. I mean, obviously they're not driving a monstrosity that I built, but to see people build those first, like the first moments where they've enjoyed the sport, right? And to
Mhm,
be there to help them get a good experience, which is kind of what you did for that guy, right? I mean, he's used
mhm.
to F1. He's not exactly new to automotive sports, but he's new to off road, I'd assume.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
really, really fun, really rewarding.
yeah.
And then to see those people year after year, right? Like I guide for the Jeep Jamboree. They come back the next year and their Jeep's a little bigger and they try slightly harder trails. Then they come back the next year and their Jeep's a little bigger and they try harder trails. There's one guy that's been coming to the same Jamboree I guide for as long as I've been guiding for it. It's like 7 years. And now he's
Wow.
doing black trails. He started on greens with me, right?
Nice.
So it's like this
Yeah.
is great. I love running into the guy and we chat. I have a dent in my oil pan because him and I decided to get into like a little competition on the first time he
Mhm.
wheeled.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, and that's kind of what the spirit of this competition was putting a bunch of people that have never even been off road, into built off road trucks and getting guided up trails that make people uncomfortable,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
watching them grow through that was just so fun. And then I got such positive feedback from Matt and from I'm a big fan of Donut Media. I love the Donut like channel. They're it's more of a car channel. It's not really an off-road channel. And
Mhm.
James, who's my favorite guy on that, had never met him. He was there at the competition and he came and told me that my Samurai was like his favorite rig there and all this, which is super flattering and just incredible. So the whole experience was very positive for me. It was fun and it was extremely um impressive to watch what Matt has done. Um, because people weren't there for King of the Hammers, people weren't there for Easter Jeep Safari. People were there to because of the Matt's Off-Road Recovery channel, and we had
Yeah.
10,000 people show up at an event for a YouTube
Wow.
channel.
10,000?
When
Did
Yes.
you
I
say?
when
Yeah.
I
Holy.
first heard of his
That's what
channel, I'm like, he made a channel out of what?
I
yeah.
think he just came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
For
Yep.
some reason, all of a sudden, boom,
He
there's
found uh,
this.
he found a niche that no one thought of as
Mhm,
being like and it just works so well for him, and he's a good authentic dude, and I think people really that resonates with a lot of people. And so but it's amazing the power of YouTube that he's able to draw a crowd like that.
that's
I've been to like
unbelievable.
big events that don't have 10,000 people. So like for
Right.
him to be able to draw, and he told me what his goal is with this event is like he wants to make an event that's about YouTubers. And that's the whole point. He's like, you go to Smoky Mountain Jeep Invasion, which I've never been. I don't really know much about it, but he's like, it's huge. You'll see some YouTubers there, but it's mostly about the vendors. It's kind of about, it's about Jeeps, it's about whatever. And you go to he used a couple other examples of these other events, but he's like, I wanted one that's about like us. It's just like people can come and meet their favorite YouTubers and buy merch at their booth and ask questions about what they should do with their Jeeps or whatever. And so that was like the whole idea of these like wrecker games is it's not even about the wreckers or anything. It's about like community and having people who watch us online have the ability to come and say hi.
Mhm,
And so it's really cool, man. I'm telling you, behind closed doors, he's one of those guys too that's just so awesome and his
Yeah.
huge heart, very generous. I mean, he saved me on my way to SEMA and my truck broke down and he towed me in the middle of the night. We got back to his house at 6 a.m. in the morning after he towed me all night. And I was like, no, come please stay with me. Like I stayed at his house. His wife made me breakfast. Like they are absolutely phenomenal
wow,
people. They're
That's cool.
so nice, which is
that's
what you would
awesome.
hope.
Right.
It's good to see nice people make it to the top like that, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Because there are a number of people that are very popular, and you hear all these horror stories about what a terrible human being they are in real life, and
Yes.
it's just I hate when that happens.
Yeah. I unfortunately have met a few people in this business that are not who they appear to be online, which is,
Hmm.
it, it's honestly though, it's there's so many less of them and so many more just
Mhm.
good folks. I have so much faith in humanity. I'm telling you, there are so many great people out there. They really are. Everywhere I go, you see people helping each other. It's awesome. It's a lot of
Have
It's
you
just
always
positivity.
been this positive your whole life? You were just like earlier, you are the glass is half full
yeah,
person.
that's very true.
No, I see. No, I am a pessimist, to be honest with you. If I'm being real. But I am very positive. I've had a number of people that have told me throughout my life that I'm really positive, which is funny.
The most
But,
positive pessimist? Is that what
Yeah,
you're getting at?
maybe that's what. Yes, when I start my podcast or write my first book, it'll be called The Most Positive Pessimist.
There you go.
Yeah, it's a great
A
title.
memoir of Dirt Lifestyle,
Yeah.
The Most Positive Pessimist.
Absolutely.
So now that you're, I guess off-roading was your hobby, what's your now that's your job? I guess
Is it,
YouTube is
yeah,
your job.
is it still your hobby? I guess.
What do you have new
Man.
hobbies now?
So before I had kids, I had more hobbies. I love fishing.
I know
like-
that feeling.
I love fishing. I still have all my rods and reels. I have all the gear.
Uh-huh.
But when my son was born, I had to make a decision. It was like, I can't work such a, like, cause I was still plumbing. I wasn't doing YouTube yet. I was like, I can't work such a, like, it requires so many hours to be a plumber because there's so much commute time and all this, and be like always bass fishing and be an off-roader and be a good dad. Like, I had to lose something. So I stopped bass fishing and I had a bass tracker boat and I sold it. And I was like, well, when my kids get old enough, I'll get back into fishing. But so now the goal is once my YouTube channel gets big enough that I could take a day off here and there, then I will get back into fishing. So right now it's all hands on deck. Every hour of every day is focused on this or my family.
Mhm.
Well, I mean, the cool thing about YouTube is that once you have a certain critical mass of followers and content, like the income doesn't stop when you take a day off, right? Like if I
Yeah.
take a day off of work, or if I'm laid up and can't work, I don't
Yeah.
make any money, right? I had a day job, right?
Yes.
So I guess there is a bright side, right?
You
Like,
gotta
and
keep that momentum going, though.
that's the
Well,
thing that sucks.
that is
the
true. That is
momentum.
You gotta keep producing those videos. It's
Yeah.
critical.
It is.
Like
And
my channel's been
sorry.
sort of dormant because of life things and whatnot,
Mhm.
right? But it still gives me a small check every month, right?
Uh-huh.
Not enough to live on, no way. But
No, yeah.
but it's still happening because people are still watching stuff that I've made, the more popular stuff. So, there's still there's kind of a silver lining there. That residual
totally.
income, right? That's the goal.
Yes.
So what are your most popular videos? Like for me, it's my how-tos more so than watching me off-road. Like what's kind of the theme of the ones that you feel are your biggest?
If you
Watch.
asked me a few years ago, I would say how-tos.
Uh-huh.
But now that I've had like a longer timeline to see like what's actually rising to the top, my two most popular videos ever are like off-road videos that I made that are like really long format. I was like
Uh-huh.
really focused on trying to make something that felt kind of like an off-road documentary. And
Right.
both of those videos are very popular. And then my reviews, every once in a while, I'll have a review that just goes haywire.
Uh-huh.
And whether it's a tire or a tool, there's just I will just occasionally have one of those that'll just, well, I say haywire, I mean catch fire is what I should
Right.
be saying.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, right.
just like pow up to 1 million views like relatively quickly, and then it'll be like, that video was easy. Why don't I just do those all the time? Why am I
Wanna
always
do
like
more of
building?
them.
Like the build videos are hard. And, like,
Yeah.
And you never can predict what's gonna take off. Never.
It's
I have-
tough.
It's random.
I have
I
one.
feel-
I have one where Affordable Bender sent me a bender,
Uh-huh.
and like it was just me setting the thing up and going over what it looked like, and I bent some tube in it. First time I'd ever bent a tube in my life. Right,
Mhm.
top video.
Yeah.
It's like,
Well-
I guess people are interested in cheap benders. I don't know.
Well, keep anything,
Yeah.
when you're building an off-road vehicle, it's expensive. And when you're doing it yourself, like a lot of people are
Yeah.
looking to figure out ways to save budget. They're going to
Mhm.
buy Harbor Freight tools. So when you talk about Harbor Freight tools or Affordable Bender or Amazon stuff, whatever, people are interested in that because they're like, oh, this is a way that I could get into bending and actually be able
Yeah.
to afford to do it without
Well,
having
that's
to
exactly
like,
why I wanted the
buy a
thing,
flea chart.
because
Yeah.
the nice benders are just, there's a ton of investment there, and I'm like, I'm going to use this for a couple projects probably, and if I ever get bigger that I need it for a ton of
Yeah.
projects, I'll upgrade, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I think well, the difference between the like super successful like Matt's off-road recovery level YouTubers and like the folks that aren't that successful is the more you learn who your audience is, the easier it becomes to predict which videos are going to do well. That's what I've noticed the more I talk to bigger channels.
Mhm.
Like they're really good at figuring out ahead of time, and I'm getting a lot better at it. Figuring out which videos are going to be like like this is going to fall in line exactly with what my people. When I did my Harbor Freight trailer build series, I just had a feeling that that was going to pop off so hard, and it's not because it was the first one. There were plenty of Harbor Freight trailer build things, but I just had this feeling, and I was right. I mean, it just was such a successful series for me. And so it's like there are a lot of moments where it still feels random, but I do feel like the more I get to know who my audience is, like how like Matt's off recovery, he knows exactly who watches his channel.
Yeah.
And so he's really good at delivering. Do you guys watch Whistle and Diesel at all?
I think I've seen one or two of their videos, but I don't watch them like
So
religiously.
Whistle and Diesel, dude, Cody can come off as being like, because he just destroys vehicles on his channel, and his channel is absolutely massive. And
I think I know who he is. Go ahead.
Yeah,
yes,
that rung a bell.
Yeah.
yes. And at first, when I first started watching him, I was like, I just don't get this guy. Why is he destroying all these vehicles? And then the more you watch him, you start to get to know him a little bit more. You're like, okay, this is clearly like he's playing a character. And then you start to almost root for him. And then but what that guy does, he breaks all the rules on YouTube, all of them. And it doesn't matter. He delivers exactly what his subscribers are looking for every video. So every video is like 5 million views because he knows his audience so well. And like, there are no compromises. He will do exactly what he thinks his people want to see. At least that's
Mhm.
my interpretation. And
Yeah.
he's so successful because he's figured out what they want to watch. And that's what I think, like those, Matt's off-road recovery level or Whistle and Diesel level, like those guys are just so good. Because it is hard to figure out why people are interested in you.
Mhm.
It's like sometimes you think like I'll go on a stint like, oh, people just want to see builds, and then I'll do builds for a while, and then I'll do an adventure video and it gets way more traction. It's like, okay, well, they like builds, but maybe there's something else I could be doing that would be even more satisfying to my audience. Like, who knows? And here we are talking about YouTube again. I'm sorry.
No.
It's hard not to, right? It's hard not to
Well,
because
that's kind of what
you've
you're about, what we're about. Yeah.
you've sort of like captured the dream, right? And it's kind of curious, like how did that work out, right? And some people
Yeah.
might think that it's only because you got started with Bleep and Jeep because he was such a big channel and you built a name there. But like I said, I didn't even know who you were until you started your channel, and I still think it's great. So you've done something right.
Yeah, the interesting thing is, so I didn't get a chance to like tell anybody I was even leaving Bleep and Jeep, and the whole time I was on Bleep and Jeep, I never had a video that went over 100,000 views. People were there to see Matt, and when I started my own video or my own channel, I sat down, I shouldn't say sat down. As I was working, as I would get video ideas, I was constantly brainstorming, and I made this huge sheet of video ideas. So I was like, instead of just building the stuff that I just making videos of what I'm up to, I should think of some topics that I think would be really popular.
Mhm.
And so then I picked the 10 best. And when I started my channel, I went through that 10 best list. And out of my first 10 videos, 7 of them broke 100,000 views. Like, and that had like nothing to do with my math or the Bleep and Jeep stuff or any of that. I was just able to pick topics. Like my biggest video for a long time was a Harbor Freight bender video. Like you said, yours was an affordable bender. Mine was a Harbor Freight bender video. And that video was getting people to discover the channel. And then they would click on some of the other stuff, which I had thought like, these are topics that I haven't seen covered that I think would be really popular. And it totally worked. Like that's how my channel got its start. And so in the first year, I had 100,000 subscribers, which was just insane. And
I think
funny,
I had 100 after a year.
really,
Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
Super
And
slow
that
growth
could've
for me at the beginning. I only hit 5,000 like a month or two ago.
Well, that could have very easily happened to me, man. Seriously, it's because I sat down and I like really was thoughtful about what kinds of topics I would want to see as an off-roader, and I would want to see as a gearhead. What kinds of things aren't being covered, and whatever. And that was huge for me. So fast forward quite a few years later, I'm in Idaho with my friend who has a channel called Outdoor Auto. He's out of Idaho, and I tell him this story. So after this, I don't see any content out of him for a while, and I'm not on YouTube much. And then he hits me up. He's like, dude, I just want to say thank you for telling me that story because I sat down and I wrote a list of what I think would be like the top 10 most popular videos, like things that I think people want to see. It's like my channel is absolutely exploding right now. And then I went and looked at his views. His views are all through the roof. So
Mhm.
it's like, it doesn't matter if it's a brand new channel or, gently used channel, we'll say, an older channel. You can absolutely sit down and you can like do the research. You can look at the most popular channels. You can look at what their most popular uploads are, and you can just get a bunch of data together and then be like, oh, there's some commonality here. Like these are some of the topics that our subscribers seem to be interested in. Maybe I should talk about that more or whatever. And that learning exactly what the audience wants is like such an important part of making this a business. Um, and you can't just be a sellout. You can't just do it like, oh, I hate this topic, but everybody wants to see it. Like you got to like it
Yeah.
too, for sure. So it's like you blend yourself into topics that you are also interested in, and then try to give people what they want. It's that simple, you know? Um, Man, I forgot how we started talking about this. I'm sorry.
God,
I don't
I'm
know.
really
But
hopped
this-
up
I
on
know.
caffeine, so I'm
This
this is
rambling
kind
today.
of how this show goes. So we're already over an hour. I figure we're gonna try
Okay.
to shoot for an hour and a half. How's
Yeah.
that? Which is 5 more minutes. So
Well, I
Sure.
was just gonna say one of my most popular videos is the Easter eggs in my Jeep and how to find the drain plugs in your Jeep. And you're
Jeep
like,
people, do one on
yeah.
ducks. They'll love it.
right? No, I did. I had a TikTok video that went viral. It has like 2 million views.
Oh,
That's when I
wow.
what?
Oh, no, I'm listening to you.
Oh,
That's crazy. I'm typing it in on my other computer. I'm looking at Jeep Easter eggs. I want to see if your video comes up.
oh. But I did one on Jeep ducks, and I drilled holes in the ducks, and I put them on my antenna, and it just exploded. But I never. My video probably won't. It started going viral when some TikToker did something about her. It's not like millions of views, but a TikToker posted her little lizard on her Jeep. I don't know if it was the Renegade or whatever, and all of a
Yeah.
sudden that video just started going viral.
I
For me,
hear
viral for me, not viral for Nate. Nate's viral is like millions. Mine is like
Oh, come on.
10,000s. So
I have every now and then I have people reach out to me that are totally not Jeep people and they ask me about the Easter eggs. So I mean, you hit on a topic there, right? And I'm like,
Yeah.
it's just some things that are
right,
hidden places on the Jeep. It's not that big a deal.
right. And at first, when Jeep first did it, it was in the JKs, and it wasn't hidden. They were tributes to the Willys Jeep.
Yeah.
You
yeah.
know, the little thing in the corner of your
Oh, totally.
windshield,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
on the rims. That's what
The
started. And then all of a
1941 on the dash.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then
I
all of a
love it.
sudden, the other Jeeps, they put like sandals and a lizard, and I forget what some of the other things
Yeah.
were.
Well, so the reason I'm looking this up is I'm very interested in the concept itself. Like that's a video topic that I would have personally would never thought of. But it's such a great it's good because if you know what an Easter egg is, you're interested. If you already know what a bunch of the Jeep Easter eggs are, you're interested because you're like, are there some I don't know about?
Right.
Like it's really good concept at invoking that curiosity. And so that's why I'm just kind of curious. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of people that have tried to do videos on that topic. I see yours on here too. It came up like top 3 or 4 for me. Yeah.
You win.
But
I know. But I've been researching too about YouTube. Like your thumbnails are important, your colors you pick, and your titles and
it
you
changes
know.
every 2.5
Oh,
years or
yeah.
something.
Dude.
You know, it's like no, red was last year.
I
Green,
know.
do green now.
So here's, if you want to go into deep waters, I'm willing to take you there as far as so you need, with your thumbnail, it needs to satisfy a few things. Not only does it need to be catchy to the person that's like viewing it, but it also needs to be clear enough that Google Brain, which is the series of
Yes.
AIs that Google uses, can easily identify what the video is about based on the thumbnail. There is software you can get. I've never used it, but I know it's out there, where you can like upload your thumbnails and stuff to have it scan and make sure that AI can very easily tell what the video is about, because it's an easier way to be successful at this, because you're trying to satisfy your audience, you're trying to satisfy mystery computer people,
Yep.
like AI.
Yes,
trying-
that's
yeah.
what I was saying. We're
Yes.
now our brains are thinking, how am I going to get the AI to grab their attention?
Absolutely. Yes. And
How do I convince the computer to show people my content is really
Yes.
what it
Yeah.
is. That's how you describe what it is to be a YouTuber.
well, and there is a big part of that, and it's easy to start to feel like you're a victim of the algorithm and stuff. And I have been there where I felt like that, like, God, if it would just show my stuff to more people.
Uh-huh. Yep.
But I found that the better my videos got and the better storyteller I became, the algorithms are very good at figuring out who has the best videos, and it does a lot of it through watch time,
I was
right?
just gonna say, yep.
And then whether or not if a new person comes to your channel, they see the first video and then they click on a couple more, that is how you skyrocket your channel to
Mhm.
just next level, because session time is the real secret
Yep.
important thing. Whereas how long can you get someone to stay on
Stay and
YouTube?
watch.
And
Exactly.
the algorithm will reward people who will have the longest session time, not just the longest watch time necessarily on a video.
Yeah,
So
Because-
I used to have these long closes, and it's the same one that runs over and over again. And now I'm like, I'm going through and re-editing them and taking that off, because nobody
Dude.
sits and watches the credit close or whatever you want to call it.
Yep. And that'll reduce your like retention for the video
Mhm.
length. But on top of that, like I used to do intros. I don't know why.
Yes.
Like in
Just
hindsight,
get to
yes,
it, right?
in hindsight, I'm like, why did I ever think that I need it? It's just because you grow up watching TV. It's like, well, I
Yeah.
need
Right.
an intro.
it
And
it
then-
feels like the right thing to do because that's
Right.
how TV always was. There's always
Yeah.
an intro that introduces
Yes.
the host and tells you what the show's about. And yeah,
I get to it now. If it's a build video and I'm welding, we start the video well. Like first shot,
Yeah.
you're gonna see me breaking out a grinder or a welder or
Yep.
something, because it's like, those first people are, especially with TikTok and these
Attention
different other,
spans, yeah.
you need to get their attention faster, because, and I've noticed this about myself. If I'm like gonna watch something on Netflix or Amazon Prime or something like that, what's longer format, I never look at how long a video is, or a movie, I should say, or a show. I'm just like, oh, I'm going to watch an episode of this show. And I set down the remote and I'm sitting there and I'm engaged in the show the whole time. If I'm watching either reels on, reels or shorts, or I'm watching YouTube, I'm like hovering over the skip button. I don't even know why I'm trained to do that.
yeah.
But it's
Yep.
like it's almost like the video I'm watching is auditioning my time, and it's like it takes a couple minutes in before I like get to a point where I'm like, okay, I'm in. I can let go of the remote and I can watch the video. So
Well, I
it's
think
like,
it's because there's a million other things you could be watching.
Or doing.
absolutely.
You could
Oh,
be making
totally.
your own video.
Well,
Yeah.
like the day I canceled my cable subscription was the day I found myself spending more time scrolling through all of the things I could watch than I did actually watching things, right? It's the
Oh,
same thing
yeah.
on YouTube. There's a billion
Yep.
things that are like, oh, that looks like it'd be fun to watch.
Yep.
That looks like it'd be fun to watch. That looks like it'd be fun to watch. How do I pick one? Right. And when you pick one, you're like, I'm committed now, but I can go watch that other one if this one's not good enough. Right.
Yeah,
So yeah, I think it's a very psychological thing.
it is. And we're not trying to trick you. Like, you can't come at it like you're going to try to trick people into watching your content. It's like,
Yeah.
you got to come at it like, why are they watching me in the first place? And how do I just give them exactly what they want?
Right.
If they're coming here for pizza, I want to give them pizza. Like,
Right.
you know, you can give them a salad every once in a while, but if you give them salad 2 or 3 times in a row, they're gonna get pizza somewhere else. So it's like you just keep giving them pizza. That's what they're there for. So you just figure
Yeah.
out what the pizza is, and then you just deliver. So, and every one of us is trying to get better at that, including Matt from Matt's Off the Recover, by the way. When him and I talk YouTube, we could go for hours. He gets so deep into the mind. He's a fascinating guy to talk to about this stuff.
It's crazy the people you run into that are just so deep into this.
It would be
Yeah.
great to have like a little YouTuber conference where we could all get together and pick each other's brains. I could sit and have a beer with you and just talk about this all night long. And I'm
Yeah.
sure everyone's like, "Oh, come on, get to the fun stuff." And I'm like, "This is the fun stuff."
I know. Yeah, it is funny. It's another hobby on top of the other hobbies. Like
Yeah,
like, you know, you got to
totally
be just
is.
as passionate about
Yeah.
this as you are about everything else, so you can learn it and figure out, you know, what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong, and grow in it. You know.
Yeah, TV news. I was in TV news, so I love editing. I love videography. I love that all. And I finally got to not to be in TV news anymore, but I was able to use those skills again in a different media.
Mhm.
So it's I love it. I could talk about it all night long.
Yeah, me too. I did see a question over here that I did want to
Oh.
bring up. Videos said about when the video for the I can't read. I'm sorry. They're asking when
New
I'm going to
shop.
do
It's about the new shop.
the new shop. When am I going to do a walkthrough? They're asking when it will drop. We are working on it. It's so the amount of work that I'm trying to get done by the end of the month is like 2 months worth of work that I'm going to try to squeeze together weeks because we close on selling our previous house by the end of the month. And so I'm not doing any more videos about the shop until it's done. I don't want to have to make people sit and, well, all right, well, now Nate's working on the shop again. I would rather have it be complete. I think that's where I'm going to give people the most value for their time. So
Yeah.
once the shop is done, I'm going to do a full detailed walkthrough because I've done a lot of things in here that I haven't seen done in very many shops that I think will resonate with a lot of the DIYers that watch my channel, of like how to organize things. I've been very thoughtful about how I'm putting it all together. And I think my subscribers are going to lose their mind over this shop. It is going to be so damn cool. I'm telling you, I've never seen a shop like it. It's going to be so neat.
I was kind of curious, like how you even approach a project like that. Like every shop I've ever been in, whether it's my own garage or my dad's place or whatever, right? There's always been something there to start with. It's not just empty garage bays. You started with just like a barren, empty building, right? And it's like, I don't even know how I would get started with.
I knew I wanted a loft.
With that project.
I've always wanted a loft. I was like, is it tall enough for a loft? I think it's tall enough. So then I built the loft, but then it was like, well, what's going to be under the loft? Is it just going to be a big empty space, or am I going to have it like sectioned off? Do you put stairs on the outside of the building? Do you put them on the inside of the building? Do you put it on the side of the loft? I decided to put it like a third of the way in because then I could have I want a little box that I can do all my grinding with a little exhaust fan. So like I can roll an axle in there and clear it off in its own little grinding room. And I was like, and then under the stairs can be
keep all that dust down. That is a brilliant idea.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that's what I'm saying is so I, anytime someone wants to watch one of my videos, it's like, I'm thinking, well, what is the value that I'm going to bring to them? Like, why would they come to me? It's not because of like, my beautiful face and like my charm. It's because I want to like offer them something. And so with this shop, I want this last video on the shop build to people be like, I want them all to go out and think of how they're going to improve their organize. I want them to get so jazzed up because they see so many fresh ideas in one video that they leave thinking, I've got to get more organized. Because it makes such a big difference.
You posted, I think, a picture or something on Instagram of, it looked like you had made an organizer for spray paint cans out of like PVC pipe. I'm like, why didn't I ever think of that? That's brilliant.
Yeah. And I would love to take credit for it. But honestly, that was part of the research process for me. Is like, okay, I want to find out ways to store funnels. Is there something that I've overlooked? I want to find out ways to store spray paint cans. Is there ways things I've overlooked? And I just get on Google Images and I just scroll endlessly. And then I find little bits and pieces and things that I find inspiring. And like, oh, wow, I haven't thought about it from that thing. And so I saw someone had used PVC chunks to do that, to organize their spray paint. I was like, I can do that. That is a great one. And so now it's like just one or two people's ideas on the internet that I'm going to be able to share. And I'm not going to take any credit for it. Like, I'm going to be completely honest. Like, this isn't my idea. I'm just like,
Right.
I'm trying to find the best ideas to share with all of you guys. You can find it in one spot instead of having to spend months of research like I did, you know?
Right.
And so I want to try to inspire people and motivate them to like get out and figure out cool ways to organize. I guarantee after this, a bunch of people are going to buy pipe and they're going to be organizing their spray paint cans like that. Because it is
I'm
neat.
already thinking about it. I got to be honest.
Yeah.
After I saw that, I'm like, I'm thinking of the shelf that I have all of my spray paint cans on that has,
Uh-huh.
you know, those 2 or 3 in the back that are probably unusable anymore because they've been there for 28 years and you forgot they were
Mhm.
back there. And this would solve that.
Yes, totally. You know, and it's not the perfect solution, but it's a good one for sure. Like, it's going to make it so much easier to, because man, I have so much spray paint and it was just taking up shelf after shelf after shelf to store it all.
Yeah.
And now it's not
I'm
like
thinking
that.
like put that on a hinge that you can almost like move one
Yeah.
shelf to the next, right? You know, like you see, I guess it's like libraries have that where they put
Or
like
the posters at
like the
Spencer's.
posters at Walmart or something, right? Where
Yeah.
it's like on those
Yeah.
things, except spray paint.
Right.
It's funny you say that. Originally, all that was going to be in the door to my compressor room. It was going to be a
Yeah.
hinge. You open it up, and then all the spray paint's in the door. But then once I put the compressor in there, I realized, oh, there's enough room in here, and then I don't have to like move a 100-pound door every time I want to get in here.
Oh yeah, right. All that spray paint would get heavy.
Yeah, it'll add up. Yeah. So it's a very
Oh,
long answer to tell you that
Yeah.
it'll be in a few weeks, probably. It'll be the very, very, very 1st of June will probably be when that video drops, more than likely.
So
that's
I
like, yeah, 2 weeks about.
I don't wanna-
Oh, shoot. Is it really? Oh my God.
Yeah, you got. Sorry, gotta go, guys. I gotta finish my
yeah, right.
my shop.
So I don't want to pry like too many details about the new property, but I am kind of curious, like how big of a property did you end up with? Are we talking acres and acres here?
It's acres. It's not like hundreds of acres or anything like that. And I don't want to say an exact amount because people are really good at finding you. And
Oh, okay.
We
Are we
have
talking
went-
like tens of acres?
no, not that much.
Okay.
No, like 10-ish acres.
Okay.
Yeah. Not yeah. I wish we actually looked at a place that was 27 acres and it was like its own mountain. It was incredible, but it was so far away from civilization that we're like, if I need a part, I'm going to drive 45 minutes to get it.
Oh,
you
that
know.
would-
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is
I've-
like 10 minutes from stores and it's up in the, it's up in the hills. It's like away from society, but very quickly you get right back in and you can get groceries and all that kind of thing. It's the perfect location for us.
My wife and I have been thinking hard about like what is our next property going to look like because we live on like a quarter acre. My shop is totally inadequate for where my Jeep is going to go next, and we have chickens in the backyard, and it's like it's just a matter of time before neighbors start complaining about either the smell or the noise, right? So we've been thinking about a bigger property that can house this kind of stuff. So it's really had me looking at like homesteads and whatnot. So I was just kind of curious, like what you ended up with and what how that's going to pan out.
Yeah,
'Cause
our last house was half an acre, and
Yeah,
you fill it fast. It's we
Yeah.
had a 1,000 square foot house and a 2,000 square foot shop, and that fills half an acre quick. And
Yeah.
then so yeah,
we
I
have like a tiny little yard. Our dogs can't run.
yeah.
We don't have enough rooms for the people that are in the house. Like there's all kinds of reasons that we need a bigger place. So
So
we've
do you-
really been thinking about like we need someplace on like a large undeveloped lot or a little house with a lot of land or I don't know.
Do you and your wife have internet jobs?
Yeah,
Or
I
do you
work
have-
remote. I could
you work
literally
remote?
work anywhere I can get solid
Dude.
internet.
I'm telling you, do it. That's what we did. That we saved. Well, we've been saving for our quote unquote dream house for 9 years. We've been just saving forever. And we finally got to the point where it was like, well, I don't know if the market's ever going to go back down, but I want my kids to grow up in a place that's not a giant city like Tacoma, Washington. Tacoma is huge, if you don't know. And it's not, in my opinion, an ideal place to raise kids or to do the things we want to do. Like I wanted enough property that I could like drive around on it and make content in my own backyard,
Yeah.
and have a barn and just, everybody is way calmer when you get out in the country. Like this is a
Mhm.
better
Yeah.
place to live. So it's like if you have the
Absolutely.
ability to like to just change your remote location to somewhere, like we moved pretty far away from my last house, and that's how we were able to get something that was affordable, with some acreage and a better house. And you know, my dog's gonna live his golden years out here. My lab's like 12, so now he
Oh,
just kind
he
of
just
walks out and
retired.
just looks. Yeah, he just retired totally, dude. So he's just like he's totally falling right into it. He just sits out on the deck and just kind of like looks over his land. You know, it's pretty awesome.
Oh,
That's
So,
awesome. That's
yeah.
awesome. I've
So-
seen your dog in some of the videos, and I have to admit, I'm a little jealous. We had a chocolate lab when I was a kid, and best dog I've ever owned.
Yep. Yeah, we had a black lab when I was a kid, and that's what made me want to find a lab again after having such
Yeah.
a great dog as a kid. So, yeah, it's dude, you got to do it. You got to figure out a way to make it work. It's tough, you know. Like this has been so stressful for us to move out here.
Oh yeah,
It's so hard.
there's
but-
some dominoes that I have to set up first, but
Yeah, and that's where
yeah,
we work
it's definitely a plan. Well, what was the line from Guardians of the Galaxy? 12% of a plan. There, it's 12% of a plan.
12% of a plan.
I think my most favorite, and it was a very great learning experience, was living in a sliding camper for about a year and a half in Colorado. And you come to realize what's important,
Mm,
and all that stuff that you accumulate.
yeah.
It's not about that. It's about doing what you love and being out in the wilderness and just, experiences more so
Certainly.
than all that stuff.
I feel like you learned the lesson that I would have learned from living in a camper with one other person, and that is how not to murder them.
Oh, yeah.
Living that close to another human
Oh.
being, I don't care how much you like them. It
Yeah,
sounds
that was-
difficult.
That was
One way
that
to
was
put it.
rough. And actually, I don't know, one of the monkey ball crawl from 2019, did you go on that?
Me?
With Bleep and Jeep. Were you on that one? I think it was
Monkey ball.
with
Oh,
Bleep and
yeah.
Jeep.
Yeah, I was on that. Dude, you were like speaking a different language for a second there. I forgot that was a thing. No, that was exactly, yes, I was there.
So there was a guy in that video in a white Cherokee, and they called him
Yeah.
Sketchy Neil.
Yes.
That was who I hooked up with. I learned a lot of tough life lessons about him
With
and
Sketchy
life
Neil.
and red flags. Anyway,
Well, when
but
someone's
yeah.
identified as Sketchy Neil, that
Yeah.
might have been a good red flag.
Dude.
yes.
He was
Yes.
he was a nice guy.
He's very
it was
charming,
just
but
like
he's
the risks that he was taking was like bananas. Like I thought I was gonna see him die like 3 times.
Right.
Like that's
Right.
why we called him Sketchy Neil. We're like,
Yeah.
this guy is wheeling his house up here and he has no fear. Like he was literally living out of his Cherokee. He was showing us.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
funny.
and
Small
anyway,
world. Old
that's a
Sketchy Neil.
long story. Yeah. I escaped that situation a couple years ago, let's just say. And I helped him open up an off-road shop in Colorado and lost a bunch of money in that situation. But
I'm sorry to hear that.
yeah, he's sketchy in all aspects of life. Let's just say.
Oh
So
my.
you guys named him well. So
And you only knew him
Wow.
for one trip. Yeah.
yeah.
How
So yeah,
interesting.
small world.
Any relationship that inspires you to write a book when you're out of it, I think says everything it needs to say, right?
Yeah. Oh, I wrote a book in that because of that whole thing. It's on Amazon
Really?
right now. Yeah.
What, dude? I got an okay.
Oh,
this is gonna tell a lot
it's-
about you. I'm curious what it's called. I have to
It's-
know.
Called Emotional Vampire: Escaping
Oh,
a Toxic Relationship.
that's a good one. Emotional Vampire is a good one.
Yeah. So,
Wow.
but it was
Well,
about that whole experience.
Congratulations on many fronts. Congratulations on escaping the clasps
Right.
of Sketchy Neil. Congratulations on being literate enough to write a book. I mean, I
Yeah.
can't say that for sure.
And
So
I wrote
that's
this one
really cool.
without the help of Chat GPT. So no AI.
This is
involved
before
in
AI
this
was a
one.
thing.
The before time.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Before computers wrote all
I
of
was
our
because I
content.
went back and because when we were gonna have you on the podcast, I went back to see if I could see you in that video. And you must have been shooting the whole video because I don't remember if they.
I
I'll have
was
to go
there
back
for
and watch
sure
it
because I remember
again.
riding with
Uh-huh.
somebody else. I might have been riding with Bleeping Matt or something like that.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we did. What's the trail next to Pritchett Canyon?
You did Cane. Was that Cane
Cane
Creek that you
Creek.
guys
Yep,
did?
it
Yeah.
was Cane
Yeah.
Creek. That was the one we did with Sketchy Neil. Yeah,
Yep. And him and
interesting.
I went back to that same trail. But we did it in my Jeep this time. I have a Rubicon.
Good call. Very
Yes.
good call.
Don't
And he
wheel it
sh-
in your
he-
house. Is that your
Yeah.
plan?
Oh, yeah.
Dude, his steering box started coming out. I remember, and
You
he
guys had to
still, yeah,
ratchet strap it or something together.
yeah, and we used like sheet metal screws to like screw the pieces of steel back, like to try to sandwich it all back together. It was like, dude, you should probably. Oh no,
Oh, there goes the
Did-
Starlink
Oh,
again.
he's back. Or he
that guy
was.
made was sketchy. Oh, boo! Am I back?
Yeah, you're
Yeah,
back.
there you
You're
go.
back.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No,
It-
but yeah, it's sketchy all or that. You guys named him perfectly.
That is so
Just
interesting.
Described him
I
perfectly.
still talk to Tim from Bleep and Jeep, and I should hit him up and tell him because he's who named him Sketchy Neil. It was
Yeah.
Tim who called him that.
Sometimes I'm embarrassed because I'm like, people probably think, God, how could you be so stupid? To hook up
don't
with
think-
someone like that. But
Who the hell?
he's very
thinks that?
charming, and I was a pretty naive person.
Well, you even said he was a nice guy, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, the impression he
nothing to
left on
be-
you, Nate, was that he was a nice guy. So,
Yeah, totally.
nothing
Right.
to be ashamed of there.
Yeah, dude, we all hitch our wagons to people that we regret at one point in time or another, right? And then what I would say when you say I would say don't be so hard on yourself for sure. Saying like, God, people might think that why were you so stupid? I think that when you keep those people in your life, that's when people can be like,
Right.
oh God, how can they be so stupid? They've been with this shitty person for 10 years. You know what I mean? Or sorry if you were with him for 10 years.
No,
I
just so you
shouldn't have
know, just
quantified.
after about a year and a half, I'm like, but I wheeled the Rubicon Trail. I led people on the Rubicon Trail. I met so many amazing people. And I look back on it now and I feel like that was a path I had to take to get to where I'm at right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I never would have taken that path. I'd still be in Maryland being a suburbia mom. So, but yeah.
My mom,
And
some people think.
Yeah. Yeah. For those who are
called
on one of my, I got to go find that comment. Somebody goes, this was like a couple years ago, I think. Are you Dirt Lifestyle Nate's mom? And I'm like,
so
what?
funny.
No, am I that old looking?
No, you're not. I think I'm that young looking. A lot of people.
There you go.
I've had. I don't know. It's flattering. If
I
didn't
probably
have
could be your mom. What year
gray-
were you born?
I don't know. Do you want to say? I don't want you to feel like.
Were you
there's
born after 1984?
Yes, by 1
And
year.
then
I was born in
totally,
85.
I could totally be your mom.
Okay.
I totally could
Well,
be your mom.
You look great. You're killing it.
Yeah, there you go.
That's so funny that someone would randomly ask you that.
I know.
Like,
Just
you would
the
think
blue.
that we would that would have come up in one of our
Yeah, right?
videos.
I know. Oh, by the way, Jeep Mama's my mom.
Yeah, for sure. No, we're keeping it
So-
under wraps.
Yeah.
It's all part of the plan.
Right.
It's going to come out later. It's been foiled, though.
Yeah.
Well,
So I just want to say, I know I've already almost finished this beer, but it's terrible.
I'm sure.
Don't buy this beer. It's disgusting. It tastes like I don't know,
Not sponsored.
Yeah.
this came up today with me and my buddy Ian. We were so if you are watching a bad movie, are you the kind of person who turns it off, or do you stick it through to see if it gets better
Oh, I
by the end?
absolutely watch it. I watch the whole
I
thing
do
and make
too.
fun of it.
I punish myself. I don't know why I do that. I don't need to watch the whole of all hour and a half of a shitty movie. Like I could totally just turn it off, but I
Actually,
never
you know what
do.
I just recently did, and my son was giving me grief for it. It's like, Mom, just
My
turn it off.
my wife hates it because I will just start nitpicking the movie and making fun of it. I think
do
I
too.
watched too much Mystery Science Theater 3000 as a kid.
Oh yeah, that was the before time for sure.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
we're
have
at
a
150. This is
yeah,
our longest.
we're
and
almost at
I
2 hours. So
yeah.
so much for that 1 hour and 30-minute thing that I talked about.
We could do a whole series. And episode 5 with Dirt Lifestyle Nate.
Yeah, how much time can you commit?
Right. We'll have to have you back on after October, right? Is when that event is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
fill
I'm
us
totally
in.
down. Yeah. Yeah, the life is crazy, but I always try to pencil in these kinds of things because like this is fun. And I'm like, dude, I'm like a captain of of knowing how to bullshit. Like I can talk for hours with anybody
Uh-huh.
about anything, honestly. So I should have asked if I'm allowed to cuss. I'm sorry. I have been cussing
Yeah.
here and there.
Oh, yeah, you
I don't know
can.
that we have a rule against it. We
No.
generally
Okay.
keep them clean, but I mean, I don't think there's a rule there. I'll just make sure I mark that when I post it.
I
That's all.
haven't heard any cussing.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
You're in good
Yeah.
company because I
Yeah.
just realized just now that I did, and I'm being on job sites for 15 years. It's a part of my vernacular now.
I
I
bet.
didn't
I'm in
learn any
a
college words. I learned all the bad ones.
I used to be in TV news, and the newsroom was really bad. The F word was just a regular noun and verb, and now I
Uh-huh.
work in an auto repair shop. So those guys
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
to cuss a lot, especially when they're
Same
trying
lingo.
to get
I
parts apart.
know I know enough people that are like used to be in the military or have worked on job sites, and yeah, same thing. So it's definitely not gonna shock me.
That's good. That's good. Well, my apologies if anyone's listening to this with their
Oh.
kids. I do my best.
I didn't even hear it. So,
Good.
yeah, the F word is common in our business.
Well,
Especially when I'm on the trails. You, Nate, you haven't obviously watched some of my videos, like when I'm
Oh,
on
yeah.
Engineer Pass or like Holy Shit Balls, the
Or-
FFF or
Or just when I had you on that
Oh,
like
yeah.
that first black trail you ever did at AOAA,
Yeah.
and it wasn't even that crazy. And
it was.
yeah.
Nate and I have wheeled together a few times when I was on the East Coast. But yeah, when I get scared, I swear a lot.
I can relate.
Video says that
However,
Hell's Revenge was hilarious.
Yeah.
dude, Hell's Revenge, it is not a hard trail. It's
No,
just
it's not. It's
it is
scary.
a sketchy. Yes.
Yes.
I agree. There's just angles that are unnatural that like, and
And
now,
you're going up with the sun shining in your face, and you're on that
Exactly.
first fin, and you're
Yeah.
like, I can't
Definitely.
see.
Yeah. That one and Moab Rim are two trails that I'm like, I can't believe these are still legal. Out of all the ways that like the government tries to nerf us in so many
Oh,
ways,
I know.
and it's like this is like a huge blind spot. I'm just gonna enjoy it while it's here because eventually someone's gonna be like, "Oh my god, what have we done? We've allowed people to have fun at such a dangerous place."
Right.
How can we do that?
I know.
The fact that it says rim makes me want to stay away from it.
Oh, have
I
you not
don't
done
know.
it?
No, I'm
Oh, don't do it.
I'm
Don't do it.
deathly afraid of heights.
Yes.
Don't do it. That's
done
not
it.
usually the way these conversations
Yeah.
go. It's you should totally do it, and then they laugh
Yeah.
at you as you're up there
No.
terrified.
I've done dozens. I've done that trail dozens of times, and it has never gotten more comfortable. I talked with Rory from we used to be Moab Motorsports. Now Rory, he's got a like recovery channel in Moab,
Uh-huh.
and he's been recovering people for decades out there.
Oh.
And his least favorite trail in the world is Moab Rim, and he's like, this one is just real. Like a couple times a year you hear people dying on it. It's just
Wow.
Okay, not going on it ever.
Yeah,
Dude,
any
I'm
trail that
telling
might
you.
kill me, not
Well,
on my list.
again, it's another one of those that's not that hard. It's just the consequences so huge if you have like a mechanical failure or anything like that. And it's like with those giant consequences, it just
Hmm.
you know, sometimes your brakes fail. Like sometimes,
Oh,
you
right.
know, and it's just it's unfortunate, but
That
I didn't
that
mean to end this on a
video
morbid note. Sorry about
Yeah.
that that video of the, what was it, a Ford Bronco that went down Lion's Back and the brakes
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
failed.
Yeah. Years and
Yeah.
That
years
was,
ago. Yeah.
well, that was like hitting mainstream news and media when I was
Mhm.
just getting into the sport, and I'm like, wow, that's crazy. And then
Uh-huh.
you find out that it was a mechanical failure, and you're like, wow, that's something you got to think about, right? Because you, when you're first getting into the sport, you just assume that things are going to work because every time you've gotten in your car and hit the
Mhm.
brake pedal, it made the stops happen, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah,
But
really taught me a lesson before I ever got out there.
and but the unfortunate thing though is the danger is what makes it exciting. It's
Hmm.
just
Yeah,
you hope that like nothing bad like that happens, you know. And
controlled chaos.
yeah. So all you can do is your due diligence to make sure that everything's functional before you and you know, stay on top of all that. I mean, stopping is the most important part of the whole thing. Going is important, but stopping's the most important.
Hmm.
Stopping is the top. Yeah.
That's like my favorite things to do now are in the canyons, not up on the ledges. I like being
Mm.
down in the canyons, but a big rock could fall on your Jeep and then you're dead, right?
Have you done Elephant Hill down there yet?
No,
You have to.
that one I don't
I
know.
I tell everyone you have to do it. It's not sketchy or anything. It's very beautiful, very
Oh,
fun.
okay.
It is magic, and
I
there's
think
like
it's a
petroglyphs everywhere, and I, you got to do it before they close it. It's in a national park, and it's like it's only a matter of time till we are not going to be able to wheel. And you know, there's only
yeah.
a couple of national parks that you can do trails like this in, and they've already limited it, which is honestly good. So there's only like it's like 20 vehicles a day get passes to go
Oh,
into Elephant Hill.
okay.
So you like apply online like you're
I
going to
think it's
any
a
other national park.
Jeep Badge of Honor trail too, I think. I think.
Interesting. Yeah, it's not like it's not even it's not a difficult trail. It's not like the
Right.
Rubicon or anything, which I would say Rubicon's like mid-level difficulty wise.
Yeah.
This is not nothing like that. It's just an unbelievable experience. Like I highly recommend it.
I'm gonna put that on my list.
I need to
It's
get
like
out to
80
Moab
miles
sometime.
south. That's why no one ever goes. You've never been to Moab, dude?
I have not wheeled anything past, well, honestly, North Carolina is the furthest I've gone from where I am.
Man.
And that was ages ago, before I had a trailer. Drove my YJ all the way down North Carolina, wheeled in Uwharrie for one day, drove home.
Yeah, Elephant Hill is a Jeep Badge of Honor.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Dude, it's
I see where it is. It's not near all the other trails. It's way south.
yep. Yep. It's in
Oh, it's in between
Canyonlands.
that and Hole in the Rock.
Yeah, totally.
Have you done that one?
No, I haven't. I haven't done Hole in the Rock. It's
Yeah.
that one's more of like an overlandy type
Yeah, it
of
is. It
thing.
is.
Um, uh, uh, you I don't know if you get challenged in the same way. Like, you know, Elephant Hill's not hard, but it's like you got to drive, you know, you got to be paying attention to what you're doing. And there's just some cool aspects that I've never seen anywhere else. And like in the bottom of the creek beds, there's like fossils. And I mean, it's just,
Oh, sweet.
it checks every box for me. And if you like to camp at all, the campgrounds are amazing and they're
Uh-huh.
like very spread apart. So you're not even near other people. It's unbelievable experience. It's my favorite trail in the country. And I'm telling you, you gotta go before you can't, because that's one that I can guarantee eventually that will get taken from us for sure.
Yeah,
Because
those recent
again, it's
closures we were talking about a couple months ago now, Tammy.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
It really kind of shakes you up, right? Because I've always thought, someday I'll get out to Moab.
Well,
Now
so
it feels a little more pressing.
So Videos lives here in Cheyenne. So I think him and I are going to have to go put that on our bucket list. We'll go out to Elephant Hill. All right. On that note,
Yeah, we've
we're
hit
hit
the
2 hours.
2 hour
I don't want
mark.
to take
I
any
think
more of Nate's time.
we should probably wrap this up.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you for joining us. This is a huge coup for us.
This has been a fun show, that's for sure. All right, so Nate, don't go anywhere. I'm going to close up the show, but we'll chat a little bit once we end the stream. All right, folks. So thanks for listening tonight. If you're listening after the fact, thank you for tuning in. If you're watching us live, make sure you subscribe, hit that like, let us know that you like the content. And yeah, if you want to find either Tammy or Tammy's at jeepmama.com. I'm at swbcrawler.com. Nate, where can they find you if they don't know already?
You could type into pretty much any search now, Dirt Lifestyle Nate, like on either Google or YouTube or whatever. My website's thedirtlifestyle.com, but it Google Dirt Lifestyle Nate, it'll come up.
Nobody looks for websites anymore. They just go
I
to
guess that's
Google
true.
Right.
and they find the YouTube channel or the whatever, right? And that's it. That's
True.
where they go.
Yeah. The Dirt Lifestyle Nate on socials.
Yep. All right, folks. Well, thanks for tuning in, and we will catch you next time.